I'm Grandmaster Maurice Ashley, live in Las Vegas, Nevada. We've completed 4 exciting rounds of the Millionaire Chess Open. Today is Millionaire Monday, and it all starts right now.
The ancient sport of chess is about to change forever. Welcome to the highest stakes chess tournament in history, featuring the game's most talented grandmasters and a large pool of players from around the world, all playing for $1 million purse. Welcome to the first ever Millionaire Chess Open from the main ballroom of Planet Hollywood on the Las Vegas Strip. Chess will never be the same.
Welcome back, everybody, to the grand finals of the Millionaire Chess Open here. It's Millionaire Monday. We are ready to see this final match between Grandmaster Wesley So and Grandmaster Ray Robson. My name is Ariane Kawili, and I am joined by Grandmaster Robert Hess and International Master Lawrence Trent. Now, we have 2 finalists here, both very young, 2 friends, in fact, college roommates. And this is going to be spectacular and exciting. Lawrence, take us through Ray Robson's rather lucky journey here.
Well, yeah, we have to be honest as commentators that Ray has had his share of luck, but at the same time, we also have to bear in mind that he has been a fighter, and that is what is required. Sometimes it can't always go your way. So he did great in hanging on in there when he was busted against Birchers. He was busted against you in the semi-finals. But, you know, credit to the young lad. He showed he's got minerals and is in the final. Wesley, on the other hand, he deserves his place very much in the finals. He's really never been on the ropes. Slightly got nervous in the last game against Zhao in the semi-finals, but apart from that, it's been pretty smooth sailing for him. Very much deserves his place. And the great thing about this final is they are ex-roommates at Webster. They're currently both studying there, both very good friends, know each other very well, know each other's games very well. It's going to be a great clash of styles, but let's remember there's a lot of money on the line. $50,000 difference between winning and losing, 100 grand for the first, 50 for the second. A lot of money either way, but I tell you what, bragging rights and everything else associated, they are going to fight till the bitter end in this one.
Well, you know, Lawrence, Ray Robson has come back from the dead quite a few times. How many more lives does he have?
Well, I mean, it's just amazing, right? He just never gives up. He keeps fighting, and he's always somehow coming back from the dead.
That's right. Let's go back to that moment when he came back from the grave earlier on today.
Now this move, rook takes e7, is crushing. The rook is pinned to the king on g7, and if king takes e7, you snap up this rook, and now it's white with an extra pawn and a mating attack.
You can see Yang Yu, he just slumped back in his chair. He's waiting for the handshake. He's waiting for Ray Robson there to resign, and I think that's what we're going to see very soon, isn't it, Lawrence?
Yeah, I don't doubt that Ray's going to lose this game. He looks confident.
Quickly, and the idea is if queen takes c8, now this move, rook takes e7, is crushing. The rook is pinned to the king on g7, and if king takes e7, you snap up this rook, and now it's white with an extra pawn and a mating attack.
You can see Yang Yu, he just slumped back in his chair. He's waiting for the handshake. He's waiting for Ray Robson there to resign, and I think that's what we're going to see very soon, isn't it, Lawrence?
Yeah, I don't doubt that Ray's going to lose this game. He looks confident.
Quickly, and the idea is if queen takes c8, now this move, rook takes e7, is crushing. The rook is pinned to the king on g7, and if king takes e7, you snap up this rook, and now it's white with an extra pawn and a mating attack.
You can see Yang Yu, he just slumped back in his chair. He's waiting for the handshake. He's waiting for Ray Robson there to resign.
Well, it looks like we had some technical difficulties there. But
a few technical difficulties, but nonetheless, you know, this is Millionaire Monday. Everything happens. Anything can happen. What are your predictions for today?
Well, I definitely think Wesley So is the heavy favorite. He's the stronger player of the two, but he did have some reservations. They've been working together, which in chess is very difficult. When you train with another player, it means they know your opening style, they know what you've been preparing. It means you may need to change things up, and Wesley So mentioned that when we interviewed him after his win. But still, he's the heavy favorite. He's much higher rated, a top 10 player in the world. Wesley So is going to win this match.
Well, you know, he's my favorite as well, but we can't discount Ray Robson, especially as you mentioned, we had Wesley in earlier and he was saying that he prepared for this tournament specifically with Ray Robson, you know, and that must be tough. And in a way, it's also a bit of a dream come true for the two friends and roommates, so you've said before. Lawrence, is it difficult playing a friend?
Yeah, it is, because they know your game, as Robert said, you know their game, you know their weaknesses and strengths, and they know your weaknesses and strengths. So it's all going to be about who gets the kind of position they like. We saw that Ray's style is very aggressive. He likes tactical positions. He likes a lot of things complicated, a lot of calculation required. Whereas Wesley, of course, he's more than good enough to thrive in those positions. His style is more of a calm, pragmatic style. He likes to just work on these small advantages, mitigate risk in his own position, and play like that. So what's going to be really fascinating for me as a chess player is to see who succeeds in gearing the game in the direction that they want it to be in. And I think with that, given the time control, you know, it's going to make a big difference. Were Ray to make things really hectic, he's got a real shot. But if he keeps it slow and calm and lets Wesley work his magic, he's going to be in trouble. So can't wait to see how these two fight it off.
Thanks, Lawrence. Well, before the action begins, we have Grandmaster Maurice Ashley out with our MC correspondent, Alexandra, to tell us how it feels in that ballroom right now.
Thanks, Ariane. Yes, it is the final countdown. Millionaire Monday, Maurice, right? How are you feeling?
I can't believe it. It's the finals. And, you know, and it's a great finals at that. You got two college kids from Webster University. Young players. You can't beat having young players on Millionaire Monday. Guaranteed 50 grand already. Imagine you're a college kid. You got to work a lot to get 50 grand. And then you got a shot at 100 grand as well. There have been professional players here, older guys, but the young guys really showed their stuff.
So they're like best friends, and they used to be roommates. Like, how crazy is that? You can't even make that stuff up.
No, you can't. You can't. I mean, they train together.
You rigged this, didn't you?
Now they got to fight each other. That is really bizarre. That's a great story, a great scenario. Friends playing each other, roommates playing each other, not just friends. Ex-roommates. Yeah. Still, you spent 2 years together as roommates, and now you're battling for the #1 prize. And no matter what happens, one of them goes home a winner. So it's really exciting.
As the organizer of the very first Millionaire Chess, honestly, you could not plan this better.
No, it was scripted, definitely. I mean, this looks like an ideal scenario, and I'm sure Webster is jumping up and down, having their kids represent this tournament and be the champion. One of them will be the champion, and one will be the coach, you know, the runner-up. So it's a fantastic scenario.
Okay, so for the newbies to the chess tournament world, talk about this format for us.
Well, for me, it was all about having a winner. We need a winner. We need a champion at the end. And I know for new fans of the game, they're like, what are you talking about? That should be normal. But chess tournaments often end up with first place ties, you know, first and second, third. I think that's like kissing your sister. Yuck. I mean, I don't go for that. That's just ridiculous. I want to see a winner. Americans want to see a winner. They want to see a clear-cut victor, a champion. So this format with knockouts, a faster pace, made for TV, is been what I wanted for a long time. And now that I got a chance to organize my own events, then that's what I designed.
We're going to have quite the wow factor for the check presentation coming up. I'm also going to have a chance to talk to the two guys that are vying for a chance for that giant check, see what they think before they get into the final rounds. And fingers crossed, it's going to be so tense, Maurice.
I'm psyched. I'm a fan, and I'm going to be enjoying it too.
Pins and needles. I think everyone will. So tune in a little later when we talk to the two guys that are just about to vie for a $100,000 check, part of the $1 Million Monday. It's all happening later. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Alexandra. Well, two college buddies, I reckon all they're going to be debating about is how to spend that big paycheck. One of them just turned 21 years old a few days ago, Wesley So, of course. This is exciting. This is the final round, the final countdown, and we have epic, epic game coming up. Now, I want to take us to that moment when Ray Robson came back from the dead. We were basically signing his death warrant. It was all over. We were saying, this is over for Ray Robson. And guess what happened? Let's have a look at that moment.
On the board now, yes, he's still got a very dangerous attack, but it doesn't feel, well, maybe it's game over anyway, but...
I actually don't think it's game over anymore. I think Ray might have escaped a bit here.
Oh my goodness, I'm in shock.
Because his king can now, yep, he went king to c7. In this position, it looks like the bishop on e7 is just free. But after king to b8, the black king miraculously is relatively safe.
This is a miracle.
And now it's the white king in danger of back rank checkmate ideas. Move the queen to c1. The pawn on g2 is under attack. I think that you has misstepped.
This is incredible. And look at those statistics. They've just changed. 80% chance for black to win.
That's unbelievable.
This is unbelievable for such an experienced, talented, strong grandmaster like Yang Yu just to miss that easy blow and liquidate into something that looks like he's slightly worse.
Yeah, this is unbelievable. He's such a great tactician. He found bishop takes f5, which was the winning blow, and he just, I don't even know how to explain that, and he's in deep trouble now just because of the way the game is gone.
Well, look at him. He's sitting up now. He's no longer slouched in his chair waiting for the handshake. He's sitting up thinking, wow, how did I just do this?
And look at the statistics, 99% in Ray Robson. What a turn of events. The tide is turned. Look at you. He's very calm normally, but he looks very upset, and Ray Robson, unbelievable the luck that he has had in this event.
Unbelievable. He's doing what he did yesterday.
It is absolutely, it is unbelievable. He was dead lost yesterday, completely losing, and he made his opponent cry. That's what kind of mean guy he is, and now you is gonna cry. He is making you cry at the board. I would be crying inside right now. I'm crying for you. Look how upset he is.
That's game over. Queen takes g2 and forced checkmate. He's going to put out his... That's it.
It's
game
over for the Chinese grandmaster.
Unbelievable.
Yes, and that was what happened earlier on today when Ray Robson shocked the whole chess world with that mighty comeback. Now, I believe that our MC correspondent Alexander has Wesley So in the lobby. Just a few minutes before he enters the grand final, we want to know what he's thinking.
Yes, you know what? This is the closest I'm ever going to get to playing a championship round against this guy. What an honor just to even sit across a board. Wesley, how are you?
Thank you. I'm very good. I'm very excited to start this finals match with Ray Robson.
You know, you're all smiles. The energy, your energy is amazing. I think you're already a champ. The people love you. Tell me how you're feeling right before we start this.
Well, actually, I smile because just to hide my nervousness. I'm really, really nervous inside. This is like one of my most important matches of my life. And the winner gets a lot of prestige and money. So this will be a very important match for the next 2-3 hours. Will be an important time.
And your overall thoughts of your performance leading up to this match?
Well, so far so good. I haven't lost any games yet, and been successful so far, which is not easy to predict before the start of the tournament. But everything going well so far. Hopefully for this match too.
Awesome. Back to you guys. We're gonna have more of them, and we'll catch up with Ray as well a little later. Back to you, Marianne.
Thank you, Alexander. Filipino Grandmaster Wesley So admitting there that he's a bit nervous. You got to admire the honesty, but then again, it's a $100,000 paycheck over 4 or 5 days? That's pretty good. I mean, for any chess player, isn't it, Robert?
I think it's good for anybody. That prize fund is humongous, and the fact that you get $100,000 after just a few days, well, I mean, you're going to be pretty happy. And I think either way, the players are happy. They're in the final. They're great friends. But that must make it more nerve-wracking. So let's see between the two of them. Maybe if Ray Robson wins, he should get something for Wesley for his 21st birthday. It was just a few days ago. And I'm pretty sure Ray's birthday's coming up. So whoever the winner is, you better get a nice birthday present for your opponent.
Well, you know, Robert, I said earlier there that it's a $100,000 paycheck for just a few days of chess. But you know what? That's over 35 hours of chess in 5 days. That is a lot. That is grueling. That takes stamina, lots of energy. Lawrence?
Well, yeah, I mean, these guys have fought like lions, let's face it. And Wesley So is the number 10 in the world now on the live rankings. He is an elite player, and chess players, especially the top guys, they deserve the recognition. But let's not forget that even though these guys are fighting it out for the $100,000 prize fund, at the same time we've had a lot of other big results for some of our amateur players who have also walked away with staggering amounts of money. So I think in terms of the message that the tournament's trying to promote, trying to get across, is that this is a game where, as you've seen, there is drama. It is great to be broadcasted. I hope you've enjoyed it so far. We've got one more big game left, and these guys deserve a lot more credit than they have done previously. So I'm all for the big prizes, the high stakes, the drama. It's just fantastic as a fan for me to be here.
Speaking of drama, Ray might be an Olympic sprinter as well, because earlier on today we saw him sprinting to the bathroom with no more than 6 minutes on his clock, I believe. Here he is. Here is that moment. He makes a move, runs to the bathroom in, well, you know, a critical position. He's only got 6 minutes left, takes the risk, and of course the guys here in the studio had a bit of a debate on if that was wise or not.
I don't think we had much of a debate. I think Lawrence and I were in complete agreement.
Yeah, I was the one who disagreed. That's right.
But, you know, it was a moment where we see how determined he was to get back to the board, how concentrated he is. And, you know, he's ready for the epic battle that's about to begin.
Well, I'm still sticking to my guns there. Running to the bathroom with 6 minutes left, that is crazy. Even if you can sprint like Ray Robson. Now, Ray Robson, speaking of him, we have Alexandra asking Ray a few questions before he enters that grand final.
Thanks, Ariane. We'll make this quick for you, Ray. What's it like to play your best friend across the table for the final check?
Oh, it's fun, but it's going to be really tough. We know each other really well, so I expect a really tough match.
Does that $100,000 check in a couple hours of a game add added pressure to you at this point, or is it just about the game right now?
It definitely adds some pressure, but I try not to think about that. I'll just try to focus as much as I can on the game.
How are you feeling right now before we're like 5 minutes away?
I think I'm feeling as well as I could be in this situation.
Awesome. Well, you're doing amazing. You're an inspiration to everyone out there to follow their passion and just kill it at this game. So I hope you have a great game. Wesley, it's going to be a great match. Thank you very much. Back to you, Ariane.
Ray Robson looking very focused. Doesn't look like he wants to talk to anyone. He's just ready there. He's sitting at the board, probably thinking, what am I going to play against this mighty Filipino player who is so well prepared, who has proven in this tournament that he knows his openings, he knows his stuff. He's playing very fast as well, definitely not slowing down at any point. Robert, what do you rate Ray Robson's chances here? He's got the white pieces, am I correct? He's playing white first. How do you think he's going to approach the opening in particular?
Well, it depends which Ray shows up. The Ray that we've seen over the last few rounds, including round 7, that critical game where he made David Bursey's cry. Then in the last semifinal where he was getting crushed by Yang Yiyu and managed to survive. So we don't know which Ray is coming. There's the Ray who's the super talented grandmaster, one of the best American players, and then there's the Ray that we've seen over this tournament, and that's not the good Ray. So I think Ray's going to get himself together. Even though he's not been playing his best chess, he's in the final, and I think that he's going to have to play a little more solidly. Against you, we saw that he went all out, played a sharp Sicilian, got in some big trouble. Against a player like Wesley So, when you get in that type of trouble, you're not coming back.
And I don't think that he's going to get lucky again. If he does do what he did against Yang Yiyu, I don't think Wesley is the kind of guy to buckle under the pressure and make the blunders or miscalculations that Yang Yiyu did.
Well, actually, I'm not sure about that because Wesley So admitted to us that he was very nervous in the second game against Zhao, and he played a lot of inaccuracies. He almost lost that game. It was very unclear. So he is capable. He's not Superman. He's close, but he's not quite there where he is totally invincible, which is great for Ray Robson. But I do agree with you, Ariane. Wesley So is such a strong player. He's not prone to making many mistakes. He's got this one in the bag, in my opinion.
That's right, and he's been playing so solidly lately, and as we've been talking about throughout the day, the experience with the elite grandmasters really works that into you. You know, you don't get nervous at those critical moments. You're used to losing a lot of games, making a lot of mistakes, so you can handle the pressure a bit better. Lawrence?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually have seen Wesley on the circuit this year. I was with him just a couple of months ago in Cuba, playing in the Capablanca Memorial. He won that. That was his first ever elite victory. Certainly, if you're talking about 2,700 plus players, all of them even higher than that, won it convincingly, put some more points on his rating, and put some more points on his experience rating as well. So despite being only 21 years old, let's remember that, and just 21 years old, the guy's got a lot of experience. He's got to number 10 in the world. Things are looking bright for this boy. Things are looking bright for the US as well, he's going to play an integral part for their team, but for the moment, it's all about him. It's all about beating his friend up on the board. They'll shake hands afterwards. There'll be no bad blood, I'm absolutely sure. But when you're on the board, you have no friends. It's that simple. I'm sure you, Ariane, Robert, and everybody else, we've played our friends in the past. Hell, we play our family members. And on the board, be it your dad, your grandmother, your friend, your brother, sister, it doesn't matter. You've got to beat them. It's a game after all, and Wesley's going to be putting his full attention into this. It's going to be close. I actually want it to get right down to the wire. I love the drama. I want there to be a big upset. I want tears. You know, I love that stuff, and it will be great for us neutrals. Well, I'm certainly a neutral. I know, Ariane, you might have a certain partisan element to you, being of the same country as Wesley, and you, Robert, might be rooting for Ray being American, but I'm completely neutral in this, which is great for me, so I just want to see blood.
Well, Lawrence, they're loving a bit of drama. You know, I'd like to highlight the fact that Wesley, well, he was pointing it out in his short interview there before the round, that he sees this as a huge opportunity in terms of prestige. Winning this tournament for him is not just about the money, it's about firmly establishing his role, his status as the world elite. You know, if he can walk into a tournament like this and win it pretty easily, you know, that means that people got to start taking him seriously as one of the elite players in the world, and perhaps even knocking on Hikaru Nakamura's door as US #1. As we saw earlier in the live ratings, Nakamura is sitting at #9, and Wesley has just creeped up to #10. So Wesley, you know, he wants to send a message to the world, to Hikaru Nakamura, and by winning this tournament, I think this is a lot about prestige for him. But of course, not just prestige, it's also about money. Let's have a look at those figures. Well, as you can see, if whoever wins this match is going to walk away with $100,000. As Grandmaster Maurice Ashley has pointed out, we want a winner. We don't want to split any money here. We are going to get a winner of the first Millionaire Chess Open. And the person, or the loser, if we can call him that, will be walking away with half that, $50,000, which is still a huge amount. And for these two college boys, I think it's going to be about how they're going to spend that money. Don't you think, Robert?
Well, yeah, that's an incredible amount of money. $100,000 between the two, $150,000, no matter the result. So it is I mean, it's just a wowing figure there. And, you know, they're friends. That makes it very tough. I think right now is the most nerve-wracking part of this, is that they're waiting. They're sitting at the board. They know that, you know, an intense battle is coming, but it is yet to begin. It's kind of like icing the kicker in football. You know the kick is about to come. You call a timeout. The time is wasted. You're getting more and more nervous. And you could see on their faces when Wesley and Ray were sitting across from one another, Ray was kind of looking at Wesley as Wesley purposely did not make eye contact with his friend and opponent.
Well, there he is, perhaps making a last dash to have a short break so he doesn't have to do it when he has 6 minutes on the clock. I don't know, Lawrence. What would you be doing at this point? You know, you got 5 minutes before, as in Wesley's words, the most important match of his life, or the most important match of his career.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would be nervous for sure, but at the same time, I would think, let's get things into perspective. I entered a tournament where there were a number of extremely strong grandmasters. Yes, I'm the #1 seed, but even winning it is a tall order. Remember, it doesn't happen like that in sports a lot, that the favorite always wins. So the fact that he's got this far, he should be immensely proud. And in the worst case scenario, were he to lose, well, it's not a bad payday. He's playing a very strong grandmaster. In general, he's played very well. So I think that will calm him somewhat. But that said, I think, you know what, it's a pride thing. It's a bragging rights. These two guys have roomed together. You know, you can't imagine what that means to be with somebody every day, every night, be a friend. The bragging rights for that, for me, that's what would drive me more than the money, is the fact that I can say, we go for a drink, but hey, do you remember that time back in 2014 when I crushed you for the 100 grand? There's a bit of banter, a bit of good fun, but of course, this is serious, and you're right, Ariane, the elite status that he is now cementing, this is an important part of that, and despite it being a rapid, he's going to take this equally as seriously. So they're literally, here he goes, takes the jacket off. You've got to take the jacket off. You can't, well, Ray's keeping it on. Wesley's taking it off. I would take it off. You get hot. You want to be able to move your arms freely. I don't know about you, Robert. I'd take the jacket off if I could.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just look at these players. It's interesting to see how they're reacting. Ray now is not looking at Wesley. Wesley's not looking at Ray. It must be pretty awkward. If you've ever played your friend in a game of chess, it is very, very weird because off the board, you're great friends, you're rooting for each other. And throughout the tournament, they've said the same thing. They have been rooting for their friend, their former roommate. When we got them in for interviews, even Ray was saying, on one hand, I want Wesley to win, but on the other hand, I don't want to have to play him.
That's right.
So it's just a very weird dynamic, and they can't even look at each other because they'll probably start laughing.
Yeah.
It's just difficult to play someone you're so close with.
It might get a bit uncomfortable up there when you confuse friends and enemies for, well, at least for the next few hours. If you're wondering who the other people on stage are, these are the tiebreak qualifiers for our amateur sections who are playing for quite significant amounts themselves. Now, of course, all of the focus is on Wesley and Ray there, but if you have a look at this stage, these people have been fighting their own 35 plus hours of chess over the last 5 days to get to where they are now on that stage, playing each other. They are fighting for big money themselves. Lawrence.
Yeah, and I think it's really symbolic that they've got everybody up on the stage together. And I think that's what this tournament's all about. It's about reaching out to the masses, reaching out to people of all different backgrounds, levels, genders, races, etc., etc. Everybody's up there playing together on an equal playing field. A lot of tournaments you see the elite guys on the stage only, but look at this. You've got amateurs here who are fighting. Look at these guys. They're having a good laugh. They're friendly. They're absolutely in dream world being up there. And of course, these guys will never, ever win this kind of money in a chess tournament. So the fact that they've got to play for that is great. A lot of them might not need it. A lot of them are professionals, do something else. But look at this kid here, for example. I bet you he could do with a good 40 grand in his pocket. So, it's great. And I think it sends out a real clear message about what this tournament is about and what it looks to promote.
Yes, Millionaire Chess Open. Nothing like it ever in the history of chess. The biggest prize fund, $1 million. The biggest in open tournament history. And there we have our grand finalists, Wesley So and Ray Robson, just waiting those few more minutes to start the clock. And I've been told that it's only 2 minutes away. So it's tick, tick, tick. Drink a bit of water. Eye up your opponent and think, what's going to be my first move? What are my reactions? What are my opening strategies? Guys, any thoughts?
Well, it looks like Ray's a bit tired over here, and I don't blame him. It's been a long tournament. He keeps kind of blinking, and I think he's trying to figure that right now. The players themselves often do not know what they're going to play until the clock is pressed in the first move. Ray is a man who can play a number of openings. He's very well versed in opening theory. I think he will stick with his typical e4 on the first move, get a dynamic position, and seize his chances. Because if he does not win this game, his chances of playing with black against Wesley So are not particularly good.
Right, he is on a bit of a pressure cooker here to try and win with the white pieces because as we've seen in this tournament, Wesley with white is just far too solid. Now, we've probably got a minute before play. Any last thoughts, Lawrence?
Well, we should also remember that there is the third place playoff going on, so we'll keep an eye on that game. The two losers of the semi-final, Zhao versus Yu, they're still playing for 25 grand, so that's an important match. They are two friends. They've been, as you've seen in the previous clips, with each other, helping each other out. But that will be interesting. But of course, focus is going to be on this match. Everything's just getting set up. They're getting really into the zone now. It's really important to start forgetting about everything else. And all that matters for the next, however long it takes, are those 64 squares, not 24. Might just be 24. Maybe they'll just move this use 24 squares on the board. I don't know. But no, it's all about those pieces there. Perfect justice, this game of chess. You do well, you work hard, you get rewarded. And that's what it's all about.
Or you get lucky.
Well, we saw an instance where you really got lucky with Ray Robson, but, you know, when it comes to, if you took a sample of all the games, this is really about your hard effort being paid off, and off they go.
Shaking hands, starting the clock, and Ray starts with e4, just as Robert predicted.
Yeah, I think that was a fairly easy prediction because that's what Ray almost always plays. And e6 is an interesting choice by Wesley. He's a French player. I know he's been known to play a large variety of openings, but he has great success in this opening. He's a very talented player. I think this allows him to play with a minimal disadvantage and won't be too tactical, very positional, and you know what? That suits his style far better than does Robson's.
That's right. I mean, maybe a slight surprise for Ray, seeing that Wesley has been playing the Berlin a lot lately. Lawrence?
Well, I don't know about that, actually, because he is a French player as well, and Ray will know that very well. He's roomed with him, he's studied his games. They probably look at each other's games before. I remember seeing Wesley play Frenches where I've been. So, of course, it's not just the French he plays. When you get to that level, you've got to have a very versatile repertoire. But they're playing a main line of the classical here, which is very theoretical. And it's a line, actually, that none other than Hikaru Nakamura, the US #1, is actually this move with the early b5, we'll get it on the board to demonstrate shortly. That's his patented move, isn't it, Robert? He kind of introduced this to top level.
Yeah, he did, and he has pretty good success with it as well. The idea is that Black gains some activity on the queen side. If you just look at the position right there, we see that Black has many, many pawns advanced on the queen side. d5, c5, b5, gaining space. The real problem is the French bishop. The bishop on c8 is always very, very awful, and that it gets trapped by its own pawn. So I think that both sides are doing well so far in the early going, and they're moving quickly, which is also very important.
Yep, and here we go. They're literally moving without thinking here. We're in the main line, and Ray's played a really interesting move. We'll get the moves up there. We can see played this move c4, so slight change in the structure. That b pawn has been exchanged for the c pawn, and here we go. I think that's your board there, Rob.
Yeah, it is, and I think that the idea for Black now is that the rook on a8 can slide over to b8. The real problem, as you know, I'm going to mention time and time again throughout this game, is this bishop on c8. It has no future. The Black bishop always gets stuck there on c8 or on b7. The pawns on e6 and d5 prevent it from escaping. But at the same time, it's hard to figure out what to do with White's pieces. I think bishop to d3 at some moment is possible, and you decide castle kingside, but how do you make progress for White as well? It's not easy.
You know, I've got a question for you guys. As Wesley pointed out earlier, he worked with Ray before this tournament. They obviously roommates, they look at chess all the time. They have the same coach, obviously looking at analyzing similar openings. How do you pick an opening to play? Because aren't there some ethical issues there? I mean, you don't want to go into a line that you've both analyzed because you both know it, and it would be like stealing each other's analysis. How do you handle that? What do you do?
I don't think there is a case of ethics when 100 grand is on the line. Look, let's face it, even if you've analysed the line together, who cares? So be it if one of the guys has analysed it better in their own time, and that would show that you've used your initiative. There's absolutely no ethical issues here. It's not like they are revealing some hidden secrets or anything like that. They're playing a game of chess. And I'm telling you, for 100 grand, they're not going to. Ethics isn't even a word that crosses their mind. It wouldn't even enter my mind. Hey, you know.
Well, I don't know. I can't agree with you, Lawrence. I mean, even if you look at some of the top players, they play each other all the time. These are people that you see regularly, sometimes in the same tournaments, tournament after tournament. And if you've worked together, you don't want to touch anything that you've analyzed together.
I really don't believe that's the case at all. After all, this is not a normal tournament. This isn't just some random invitational.
That's true. That's true.
This is $100,000 on the line. Who cares? You know, play what's good. play the best moves. Nobody actually knows, looking at this, whether this is planned, whether they've looked at it before. Who knows about this? I don't know. Have you seen them look at this? So I think they're going to go for it. They're going to try and play the best moves. No questions of ethics in that sense. I think the ethical question, Ariane, if there is one, will be if it gets right down to the wire and we see some controversy with, I don't know, breaking the rules in some sense, touching a piece that you didn't mean to, you do something crazy in the time trouble, put your opponent off, something that is really ethical, but revealing, I don't know, or playing some line that you've studied together.
Well, maybe
no.
not ethical, Lawrence, but in terms of your one-on-one relationship with that player who you see tournament after tournament, perhaps will work with in the future. I don't know. I do believe that dynamic does play a part. What do you think, Robert?
Well, it can play a part, but I don't think that they train in the same sense where they're preparing secret materials. They have the same coach. And that means it makes it very difficult for them to decide what to play in the first place. Here we see that Wesley So chose a French defense, something I really like because they're avoiding a lot of theory, a lot of complication. They're not diving into those lines where, like you're saying, Ariane, where you prepare at home for hours and hours and hours and quote-unquote stealing someone's line.
That's right. It's like they've just gone for a position that they can both play instinctively, and it certainly looks interesting and fascinating. What's your analysis so far? We're into just the 13th move here.
Well, first I like Wesley's time advantage. He's up 2 minutes on the clock right now, still in the early stages, and it's a very double-edged position. The first thing that I noticed, and we've mentioned this forever, is this bad bishop on b7, which is very typical of a French structure. But it's nice for black that they traded the queenside pawns from the b file and the c file, but I would be concerned about a future move like rook to c1. You'll see both sides compete on the c file. Black can counter with rook to c8 always, and I think both sides will castle kingside, keep their king safe, and you know what? I think it's relatively balanced for now.
Right. Well, Wesley has just played knight takes c6, bishop takes c6, and well, Ray seems to be simplifying here. What are your thoughts, Lawrence?
Yeah, well, it really does. A lot of these Frenches revolves around that bad bishop. Basically, if black ever gets it good, he's in good shape. Now, at the moment, we've just got another move on the board. You can see on your screens there with the bishop coming to d4, and in exchange, bishop takes c5, knight takes c5, queen d4. The key for white is to blockade that square. He needs something controlling that d4 square at all times. If he lets go of the grip of that square, what will happen is black will inevitably push that pawn. After all, it is a protected passed pawn in the middle, and suddenly that bad bishop that we've been harking on about, it's a terrible bishop, it deserves to go to prison for its crimes of being so bad and worthless, well, it suddenly becomes active and a bit of a monster. So if I were white, my prime concern would be, let me see if I can get a knight there, because the knight sits beautifully, control the c-file, and I'll be all right. But for the moment, can't quite do it. I think Wesley's okay.
Robert, how do you think white can continue here? Is there any way perhaps to stop the black king from castling? As we can see here, both kings are in the center. I don't know, a move like queen b4, is that just easily met by something like queen e7?
Yeah, queen b4 allows firstly rook b8, but also an idea like queen to b6. And black is very happy to trade queens because it makes his bishop on c6 will eventually get this d4 pawn go d4 like Lawrence mentioned, and open up the bishop. I think that black is playing very well. I'm not saying that black has an advantage because I don't believe that, but I think this position is very double-edged. Both sides have chances. White has a clear queenside pawn majority.
Well, and he seems to have been using it because Ray's just played b4, and Wesley has met this with queen b6. As you suggested, Robert, exchanges are good for Wesley at the moment. Lawrence, what does the machine say?
Well, the machine doesn't really understand these positions. That's still a work in progress. It says 50-50, i.e. it's kind of balanced. That I would agree with, but it doesn't quite understand still the positional nature of what is required here. So it's going to suggest some crazy moves, for example, it suggests the move, there's all kinds of stuff, some random queen moves. I don't really understand what's going on. Maybe I've got to let it load or something. But for sure, what we do understand, what we are still superior in as humans, is the fact that we understand where our pieces should go when things need a bit more time to roll out. So here I would expect the move rook d1. I think that's a very standard move, just protecting the queen. And it's all right. I'd still take white here. I have to admit.
Yeah,
I think.
Lawrence, you know, I agree with you. Like, Robert, what do you think if somehow, I know that this is kind of impossible at the moment, but if white gets a knight to d4, let's say queens are exchanged, there's a knight on d4, and he has 2 pawns there on the queen side. I feel that this is slightly better for white. What do you think?
Well, that's white's playing card, is the passed pawn in the future on the queen side. We see there are 2 white pawns against just the lone black pawn a6. And that pawn a6 will always be a target. We see the bishop on e2 spying on it right now. So d4 square needs to remain occupied. You need to find a way to push the pawns on the queen side, but that's not giving black enough credit. I think it's very simple. There are a lot of open files. Right now, I might start with the move castle kingside, because yes, the d4 square is blocked, my bishop is blocked, but a simple move like rook to b8 coming, putting pressure on the b4 square, I think black is doing okay. And another idea is to go f6 and break up the pawn structure in the center.
I like to point out at this stage, I know it's still early days, but let's look at that time. I mean, Wesley has only used 2 minutes, under 2 minutes, for his position, and Ray Robson seems to have used a little bit more. Now, I don't know if this is indicative of opening preparation. I don't think so. I think that perhaps Wesley might be more comfortable with this, but then again, who knows what's going through their minds. Lawrence?
Yeah, I think we've seen in previous rounds, haven't we? Wesley, so he's not a slow player. And Ray, well, we spoke about it in the break as well, didn't we, Robert? That Ray is not a quick player. So it actually makes total sense that Ray is about 6 minutes down on the clock at the moment. And Wesley's playing very fast. I think that's one part of his plan, his game plan. Get Ray under time pressure, keep the position balanced so I'm not completely losing, and I might be able to pressurize him from that angle. So absolutely, and the more I look at this, the more I might have to slightly change my opinion. I think it's a lot harder for white to ever get things going on the queen side than originally looked. This pawn on b4 is always going to be weak. I would love my rooks to be connected already. I'd love just that other rook on h1 to be on b1, for example, just so it could help the other guys out. So actually Wesley's position, it looks pretty sound.
Well, and with that, we are going to let this game develop a bit, and we will be back in 2 minutes after this short commercial break.
Until recently, chess was like this. Chess24 brought you this. Live interactive broadcasts from top tournaments with computer analysis and video commentary by the likes of Jan Gustafsson, Lawrence Trent and Peter Svidler. A play zone where you can take on opponents from all around the world 24/7. Interactive beginners courses ensuring you pick up the basics fast while having fun. A tactics trainer to sharpen your chess by solving puzzles adapted to your level. Hundreds of interactive videos letting you watch and learn from star players such as Vichy Anand, Peter Svidler, Paco Vallejo and Hu Yifan. You've given up on that outdated computer? That's why there are more reasons to use Chess24 on mobiles and tablets. Full playzone access, including pre-move. A tactics trainer so you can stay sharp wherever you are. Computer opponents you can challenge even when you're not online. Live broadcasts of top chess events. And the half? It's free. Well, that's half true. Most features are free, but limited for registered members. For a mere $13.99 per month, however, you can step up to premium membership and gain unlimited access to our video library. That and much more. Make Chess24 your playground.
Welcome back to the grand final of Millionaire Monday. We are seeing the players there on stage from everywhere, from all around the world. These are the results of over 550 players from 40 different countries over 5 days of chess, each playing about 35 hours of chess over that time. And here they are at the grand finals playing for the big money. But of course, the game that we're focusing on is in the open section between Grandmaster Wesley So from the Philippines against American junior and superstar Ray Robson. Now, in that 2 minutes, this game has changed pretty dramatically, at least in terms of the pawn structure, hasn't it, Robert?
Yeah, it's definitely changed a lot, and I think the queen trade very much helps Wesley So. And look at the time advantage. That's getting bigger and bigger. He's up 6 minutes on the clock. Ray needs to do better with his time management, but in the actual position, look at Black's center. Black can go e5 at the proper moment, later go d4, and Lawrence will be very happy that that bishop on c6 will breathe new life. So I think already e5 has to be a move candidate, but perhaps you want to start with a move like rook to g8 and put pressure on the g file, or maybe think about going pawn to a5 to get rid of your weakness on the a file. So many options here for Black. He's going to spend a few minutes, and I really like his position.
Well, it seems that the computers might agree with you with the statistics there on the screen, 61% chance for Black for winning. Now, of course, we can't take those too seriously, but as Robert has pointed out, Black seems to have more of the options here. Lawrence?
No, absolutely. This game is going swimmingly for Black. I think he should be extremely happy. Ray already, 5 odd minutes down on the clock. He's not doing great. This e5 push is impossible to stop. Where is your rook going? It's kind of stranded in the middle of the ocean there on d4. Needs to find a home. But I think Wesley not only solved his opening, but I think he's just gradually outplaying Ray here. And that's not good because, he hasn't got any advantages in this position and he's down on time. So, I'm looking at these pawns, Robert, and just how do I stop these guys? You go e5, you then push one to d4. I've got to worry about g2. I've got to worry about my knight. The rook's coming to g8. And I can't see a plan for white here. I can't even see a move.
Well, actually, it's Black's move, isn't it?
Well, that's what I mean. As soon as he goes e5 in this position, where is white going? I suppose you have to take it off. Pawn takes pawn, pawn takes, move the rook to h4 or something like that, I would assume. And then maybe rook g8 here just to soften up that square on g2, just rook a to g8, probably. And then what do? G3 runs into d4. Is that losing material? It nearly loses material. He's just about hanging on with knight e4, but that was just a sample line of what these guys are analyzing, and I'd be extremely worried if I was white here.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Lawrence. And I think that Wesley's taking the time now he doesn't want to change the pawn structure too much. In the beginning position where we sit right now, he has a lot of time. He can go e5 at any moment. That's the great thing about his position. He doesn't need to go right away. And unless it's necessary, he might want to wait on that, hold it, hold that option, keep it for maybe a better moment. So I think that Wesley might not play that move now. Instead, opt for what you suggested, Lawrence, the rook to g8 or maybe even pawn to a5.
That's right. This seems like Wesley is just taking a moment, taking a breather. He's got the time advantage. Why not? He knows he's slightly better here. But I don't know. Let's analyze a few moves, guys. Let's try and see an appropriate defense for white after e5. Let's go to the line that you mentioned, Lawrence. e5, takes, rook h4, rook g8. And can white play g3 here? Because after d4, knight e4.
Well, he might just be surviving there, which is why I said it's a sample line. I'm just playing moves off the top of my head. Well, he played e5, so let's have a look. We might get this very position on the board, ladies and gentlemen. Rook h4 played.
Looks like it's heading that way.
And, okay,
ooh,
so this is the difference.
Okay.
This might be a much better move. The reason being that this d4, it's a committal move as well. As soon as you move that pawn to d4, you give a home for the knight on e4. Sometimes you need to just play a bit more calm, a bit more safe. Now, this knight d7, I think the idea is actually to reroute the knight to f6, give some protection to this pawn on h7, would the rook ever to leave h8. And also, when then you finally go d4, you haven't got this square for the knight on e4. So, and you can never go b5 because this pawn on a2 is always weak after the exchange. So actually, knight d7...
Very classy move, I'd say.
Yeah, it's why he was thinking for so long. He wanted to make d4 work. It didn't. And instead he's played knight d7. The computer gives significant advantage here for black. So I think now, I certainly agree with the machine, and goodness me, look at that center. We talk about ideal centers, Robert. We're taught as a youngster, aren't we? If we have control of the center, we have control of the board. I think this is a typical example of what that's trying to say.
Oh, definitely. But interestingly, the statistics says that white is a 55% favorite now. I definitely disagree with that metric. It looks like black center is phenomenal. You have pawns on e5, pawns on d5, and if you're not careful, they can start moving down the board. I will say that black does have some very obvious weaknesses. The pawn on h7 and the pawn on a6 are both very easy targets. The rook on h4 is actually quite well placed. The rook on h1 can move either to f1 or e1, and it looks like white may just have enough to keep him in the game, but I do like black's position. Now that the metric over here agrees with me and says black is now the 55% favorite, and it shows, as Lawrence was saying earlier, sometimes the computers just don't know what they're talking about.
Well, white just played rook f1, and would I be right in saying that if, let's say, Wesley doesn't play accurately, that those center pawns, that strength of this position could eventually become a weakness?
It definitely, if the rook can start attacking the pawns, but it looks like it's a long way away. The knight on d7 does well to protect the pawn on e5. The bishop on c6 protects the pawn on d5. And at the right moment, and like I said earlier, you might want to wait for it, but at the right moment, you can start pushing either one of those pawns to gain more space in the center. So I think that you're right, that they may become a long-term weakness, but for the moment, they're well protected, and it looks like just the center is so massive for black.
Now, guys, I've got to agree with you that these central pawns, and of course the knight and bishop and the king there, very centralized, looking very strong, looks fantastic, but my only question is the two rooks. It's hard to develop them because of the weaknesses on h7 and a6. What do you think, Lawrence?
No, you're absolutely right, Ariane. That's black's big problem in the position. He wants to be able to bring those rooks into play, ideally down the g file, the f file, and so on and so forth, but he can't do it at the moment. So that's where really white's trumps are, and also the fact that, you know, if you don't get those rooks into the game, white is the one who can improve his position. He's not just going to remain static. He's going to start moving this h4 rook up the board, and as a result, black has played a move. He's played a very committal move, might be a very good one. Let's have a look. He just played the move d4. So the question is, what's happening after the obvious knight into e4? What's his next move? Robert, I'm having a look.
Robert, what I don't understand is why didn't he play knight f6 before trying for d4, you know, to cover that e4 square?
I think he needs the knight on d7 to protect the pawn e5. And look, he just chopped off on e4, and I'll get to that trade in 1 second. I thought he was going to go rook a to b8. The idea, simply put pressure on the weak b4 pawn. If you protect with a3, I would have gone a5, trying to ruin the pawn structure on the queen side and get my rook an open file. But he decided to opt for this endgame, changing the dynamics of the position. After knight e4, he took on e4 with the bishop here, and after rook takes e4, we see black as a knight to white's bishop. I'm not sure I'm really a fan of that trade. It's very committal. I think rook a to b8 was a much better attempt, but look, Wesley's playing quickly. He's trying to trade pieces.
But wouldn't you say that he's kind of given white the white squares here, and seeing that white has a white squared bishop, was that really wise?
Well, I don't think so, and he's trying to trade pieces, so maybe he's trying to whittle this down to a draw, play with white in the second game, and try to win there. I really think that perhaps he underestimated how good his position really was, and rook a to b8 a couple moves ago was the way to play, and now I think that Ray Robson, the upper side of some equality, but slightly better for Robson.
Well, Lawrence, you can see there the statistics swinging the other way all of a sudden. It's at 55% now for Ray Robson. What do you think about this very committal exchange on e4, now going into a knight and rook versus bishop and rook? Who's better here?
Well, much like whipped cream, I simply don't like it. I don't think it was necessary. I agree with Robert. I think rook a b8 was by far the better move in this position. If we go just one, just in this position here, just pressurizing that pawn. Now, Ray's task is also a lot easier. He might be down on time. Suddenly, there are really obvious moves in the given position. Rook hf8 has just been played. I assume he's just going to snap that guy off down on f8. I think black will retake with, well, already he's got a decision to make because of this weak pawn. So if he were to take with the rook, I'm not sure if you can take on a6 here. You could even play a move like rook h4, and suddenly, you know what? This is, we mentioned it at the start of the broadcast. These two pawns on the queen side, A and B pawns, they didn't look like they were doing much with the other pieces on. Suddenly in endings, especially when it's bishop versus knight on their own, these pawns get going, black's in big trouble. I think Wesley starting to lose the plot a bit in this game.
Now, wouldn't that be a thriller if Ray Robson does manage to get some sort of tangible advantage here and push it into a win? That would be crazy. That would be totally unexpected. We'd all be wrong. We'd all lose our money. And we would be in for a thriller with Wesley with the white pieces in a must-win situation. Robert, let's look deeper into this endgame. As Lawrence pointed out, it's bishop and rook versus knight and rook. Now, we're always taught, as kids, that the bishop and rook is always a bit better. And, I got to say, I've got to agree with that, because look at the position now. We have weakness on a6, on h7. The white squares are open for that white squared bishop. How do you think black might play here, even just to secure a draw?
Yeah, well, first he's decided how he wants to capture that rook on f8. He's got three options. The knight takes f8 is terrible because it blunders the pawn on e5. So that, of course, will not happen. And now there's two options, king f8 or rook f8. I think king takes f8 is interesting because bishop g4, trying to remove the knight from protecting e5, doesn't work due to knight f6. So maybe just king f8, keeping the pawn on a6, pretending he just went rook takes f8. So he's not worried about giving up this pawn on a6 because he thinks that perhaps he can go rook to a8, but after bishop c4.
Well, Robert, I'd like to point out that after bishop a6 there, actually I'm not quite sure if that was the statistics for that position or previous, but we can see the statistics now near those clocks there on the screen. 73% chance for Ray Robson to win. Maybe that's a bit much, but definitely Ray is playing for two results here.
Yeah, he 100% is playing for two results. I don't really understand what Wesley So has done over the course of the last 10 moves. He had a great position. He's really thrown it all away for no reason. It looks like he panicked. When you get a French bishop, we talked about this earlier, I was harping on this point. When you have a French bishop, the light square bishop, your dream is to trade it for a knight. However, in the position that he got, he should have kept it. Now that he's given it away, Ray Robson's not yet taken the pawn a6, but he has this option because there's no light square bishop to compete against his counterpart in e2. I think, as you said, Ariane, it has the entire diagonal in every way. There are two weaknesses for black, none for white. It's looking very good for Robson.
Maybe, could we go back a few moves and see where Wesley cracked, we could say, under the pressure and made this very committal, perhaps dubious decision? It was when he played d4. Would you say that, Lawrence? Was it when he played d4?
Yeah, it may be d4. It might even be the move before. Maybe you can just go...
97?
Rather, no, in this position here after rook f1, maybe just rook ab8 straight away. Let's get the party going. And then you can't take on a6 because then d4 would then pick up the pawn on b4. And with the rook coming down to the second, that's no good. So it's around this point. But I think it's actually the key mistake is just bishop takes e4, giving up bishop for knight, relinquishing control of these light squares.
But wouldn't you say that the mistake was really d4? I mean, giving the e4 square, first of all.
Well, not if rook ab8 works. This is the point. If rook ab8 is a good move here, then suddenly d4 isn't a mistake. But the real, if we're looking at from a purely technical perspective, exchanging bishop for knight when you have so many weak light squares, and also when the board is so open, bishops thrive in open positions. So it was a very, unless you have a concrete follow-up, which he didn't have, he's now just in a much inferior position, and he's going to be fighting for a draw.
Yes, it does seem like a very strange decision that the Philippine Grandmaster made, and top seed of our tournament. But, it's all about pressure. It's all about the time here. Let's look at that time clock. Wesley has, well, a clear time advantage, but then again, it seems that the nerves might be getting to him. I mean, making such a committal decision, as Lawrence has pointed out, giving his light squared bishops the defender of the light squares, and now he doesn't have a defending piece for those light squares there. And of course, as we know, rook and bishop pair, very dangerous.
Yeah, and you might be in trouble right now, as pawn on e5 is very difficult to defend. If we look at the board, the knight on d7 is under attack from the bishop on g4. White is threatening the simple bishop takes d7, king takes d7, and take this pawn on e5. Of course, black has some counter chances because of the 7th rank. The rook will love to come down to f2 and wreak havoc. But I really like white's position. If you trade the rooks, then it's big trouble for Ray Robson. Oh, excuse me, not for Ray Robson, for Wesley So. Ray Robson is putting Wesley So in big trouble. So,
well, that's definitely, you know, a result or a trend that the viewers at home will love, because everyone was going into this round saying, oh, Wesley's the clear favorite. We were all saying, yeah, Wesley will probably win. If he does manage to let this one slip, we're in for a thriller final game, and Wesley will have the white pieces in a must-win situation. That's going to get crazy. But of course, Ray Robson still has to win, still has to prove that he's, as we like to call him now, Lucky Sugar Ray Robson. Let's look at the position a bit deeper now, Lawrence.
Yeah, well, I mean, Ray's been playing pretty well over the past 10, 15 moves. He got outplayed in the opening, but since then, he's been showing his worth. And, you know, let's take the scenario that he did win this game. I think it's far away at the moment. I think there are still some resources Black has. But let's say he did win. You know, he's massive favourite to win this match. Despite being underrated against Wesley, you've got to remember he would only need a draw in the final round. So he needs 2 results. Wesley can only win. Despite the rating difference, he's still the big favourite to eventually come through, because most of the time he's going to draw or win rather than lose against So. So it's going to be a cracker. I actually think it would be great for TV were Ray to win this one. Wesley, look how much time he's taken here. This is already, he's into his 3rd minute. It's starting to dawn on him just how tricky this is, because that rookless ending, rook f2 check, rook e2, maybe we can get that on the board there, Robert. Rook e2, rook takes rook, and bishop takes rook is a disaster for black. This position is nigh on impossible. Not only have you got those queenside pawns to worry about, but then what about these guys on the king side? They can create passed pawns, and the bishop, it's a long-distance piece. It's a bit like some of the missiles being developed in North Korea right now. It's going to get you at some point. Well, that's what they say anyway. And in this position, it's a bit like that. The question is, how is Wesley going to so react? Because I'm struggling to find a move here.
Yes, definitely. This would be not a pleasant endgame to play. A knight against a bishop where you have pawns on both sides of the boards. Clearly an advantage for the person with the bishop. Now, just let's have a look at the times. As Lawrence pointed out, it's really, you know, that big differential, which was 7 minutes, then it was 5 minutes. Now, you know, it's closing on 3 minutes. The time difference isn't that big anymore. And as Robert was saying earlier, Ray Robson likes to take his time, you know, and Wesley So is clearly a very good blitz player, clearly very good at rapid. When it comes to these moments, it's crunch time. It's all about nerves. Who do you think has the better nerves under time pressure?
I definitely think Wesley So does, but I just don't know what he's thinking about right now. I think he actually has better chance of surviving than the 31% shows on the screen. White is definitely better, but black has decent chances. The reason why, if he gets his rook active, Lawrence has said this every round, when you have a bad position, when you may lose a pawn, to be active is the most important thing and can give you enough compensation to make a draw. His move rook b8 is a good start. His idea is to break open the pawns on the queen side, make this move pawn to a5 after pawn to a3, and that way the rook can get active on b2 with the check, threatening the pawn on g2. So Wesley So is a good idea. I really don't think he's going to lose this game, to be honest. I see the numbers on the screen, 75% in White's favor. I just don't agree with it at all.
Lawrence, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, actually, I think Wesley has found a way to get into a position where he's got great theoretical drawing chances. And let me illustrate in this position. After a3, a5, which is very plausible, the only really way White can play is to take that knight off on d7, and after king takes knight, to then win this pawn on e5. However, after pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, rook takes pawn, this is all elementary stuff. maybe the king goes to d3. The problem you've got is, even if you win that d4 pawn, you get a situation where you have 2 pawns versus 1 on the same flank. And in rook endings, when your king is not so far advanced as White's is here, that actually is a theoretical draw and a very easy one for Wesley So, somebody of his caliber, to hold. So he spotted the danger, and I think he's found an excellent solution here to try and get to a theoretically drawn game.
Yes, this is definitely something Wesley would be vying for, especially seeing he has White in the next round. He would be playing for a win. And Ray Robson, certainly, you look at him there, he has to find a way to win this, because I don't think he has much of a chance, you know, trying to win with the black pieces against Wesley So.
Yeah, he may not be trying to win with the black pieces regardless. He may just be content with going 1-to-1. The time control will go shorter and shorter. So he just needs to make the most of his opportunity right here.
It is a risk, though. I mean, especially against someone as well prepared as Wesley with the white pieces. You got to know your stuff. And when Wesley is with White, he's choosing what's going to happen. And, you know, if Ray slips up once, it's over. So he's White here. It's his chance. He's got to take the chances here.
Yeah, but I just don't think Wesley's invincible. He's the #1 seed, the strongest player in the tournament. Nobody's questioning that. But in the last 2 games in particular, we've seen him slip up a lot. Against Zhao, he made some very big inaccuracies and almost went down in flames. Here against Robson, he's made many, many slight inaccuracies that have accumulated to get a pretty decent disadvantage. So right now he's worse. I think he will hold it, but it just doesn't look good for the way he's been playing.
Well, he seems to have gone for what Lawrence was talking about. Let's get to this rook ending. Lawrence, any comments? Bishop d7, king d7, rook b4. They went for this line. I think we're going to see a handshake pretty soon. What do you think?
Well, they might play a few more moves. After all, there still is a major imbalance on the board. The pawns on g2 and h2 are far more protected, well protected, than the pawn on d4. We've got an interesting moment here. After rook down to the 7th, White might be able to play his own rook down to the 7th here. And I don't think that Black can exchange rooks. I think this pawn endgame, it's very close. I'm not going to get into the details why. It's all to do with the flank pawns. But basically, I think this endgame is horrid for Black and would be doing really well to draw it. So after rook b2, I'm sure Ray's going to play rook down to e2 just to defend things. If he doesn't do that, if he takes this pawn off on d4 with his king, another very natural move, then suddenly after rook takes pawn on g2, you know, this is just going to peter out. That's no winning attempt at all. Just to go back to what you said, Ariane, about you know, Ray's chances against Wesley, we saw it already in the first round how Zhao, who was even much lower rated than Ray, managed to hold quite easily with Black, especially in the first game. So Ray, he's not going to just go down against Wesley just because he's got the black pieces. You've got to remember that. And Wesley's starting to show signs of nervousness. So I think it will be a very fierce battle. I think this will end in a draw, by the way. They're going to find a way to draw this. But in the second game, of course, Wesley's the favorite. Of course, he's got the advantage. But, you know, it's a fast time control. Anything. We've seen so much drama. Anything can happen.
It is. And his last few, well, the last 2 games, I would say, he's been showing some cracks in the armor there. Now, the times, I'm not sure if they're quite, you know, they're as consequential now as they were earlier, because this rook ending, as Lawrence has pointed out, might be an easy draw. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you, Ariane. The time advantage for Wesley So is nice. It's just nice to look at more so than it is very valuable. The position is very easy. There are not that many pieces left on the board. There's a rook and 3 pawns apiece. Now, Lawrence made a good point. If the rook comes back to e2, like so, rook takes e2, king takes e2, it's very possible that White could have a winning position. You'd have to do an immense calculation. These are the types of positions that grandmasters think 15, 20 moves ahead in. The reason why, if we just give some sample moves, king to d6, king to d3, king to d5, it looks like Black is doing well to protect the pawn, but White's plan is very simple. Soon, just to start pushing these pawns, distract the Black king. So let's say you can go pawn to h4, king here. We're just going to make some moves and just to try to illustrate what we're talking about. And if pawn to a3 and you leave the king here, eventually the White will just start pushing the pawns and make a pass pawn. The king will have to run back over here. And once the king runs this way to capture this pawn, then the white king scoops up this one, runs over here, and eats that pawn. So it's very complex stuff, but the whole idea is based on distracting that black king so white's king can roam free.
That's right, Robert. Distraction, one of the elementary things that we learn in chess, and always beautiful to see when it's in an endgame. Lawrence.
Yeah, I think he's got two big options here. He either goes rook e2 or he takes that pawn on d. They've shaken hands. They've just agreed a draw. I think he was just going to take that pawn off on d4, and that was that. So it's a good result for Wesley, I think, more than Ray. He draws with black. He's obviously the favorite with white. Ray didn't. Let's not get too excited here. Ray didn't have a winning possibility. He had a slight nibble, but Wesley, being the player he is, he managed to nullify any advantage. I like this rook b8 move, guys, Ariane and Robert. I think that was a really good move, just to try and transpose into one of these rook endings. Rook endings are the most drawish endings in chess, and when your back's on the ropes and you need a way to bail out, he found it. So Wesley with the white pieces, Ray's going to have to do well to take this into the second round of tiebreaks.
Definitely, this is shaping up to be a very exciting grand final between Filipino Grandmaster Wesley So and American Ray Robson. This is going to be huge. With Wesley, the white pieces, Robert, your take?
Well, I definitely think on paper, Wesley So is the huge favorite. But in practice, it's not been so simple. He had white against Zhao in the second game, and he really came close to blundering and losing. But we have to have faith in our #1 seed in the tournament. Wesley So messed up a few times during this game against Ray Robson, but he came back strong, found the easiest way to make a draw. I think Wesley So, with the white pieces, will outplay Ray Robson, and we'll find that we have a decisive game 2, which will give Wesley So the $1 million crown.
Definitely going to be decisive, hopefully decisive, or another tiebreaker. Just to recap, let's have a look at our screen now. We're going to look at the results. It was a draw in the first round of the grand final for that $100,000 prize. Ray Robson drawing Wesley So with white. He will be black in round 2. And of course, Wesley there trying to push for the win, as we will see soon. Our coverage of round 2 starts at 6:20 Pacific time. The round starts at 6:30, but we will be here after a very short break. See you at 6:20. Welcome back to Millionaire Monday here live from Planet Hollywood, Las Vegas. We are at the grand finals and we are into the second game here between Grandmaster from the Philippines, Wesley So, versus American Grandmaster Ray Robson. My name is Ariane Coeli and I am joined by Grandmaster Robert Hess and International Master Lawrence Trent. This is an exciting day. We have had so many ups and downs. It's a roller coaster of emotions here, Robert. What do you think is going to happen in this second game of this massive final showdown?
Well, Wesley So finally is the white piece against Ray Robson. And since the odds of winning are 75% for So, I think they're not as high as that statistic, but I would still rank them around 65%. He's the definite favorite. He's playing a little shaky chess, but with the white pieces against his opponent who's been getting quite lucky, I think he's definitely the one with the advantage, and I think he may pull through.
And there he is walking around before his game 2 of the final countdown. Lawrence, any thoughts on what's going through Wesley's mind right now?
Well, Wesley, he has started to show that he's not invincible. So I think he's just trying to collect himself, get ready. After all, he has got the white pieces now. He can put a lot of pressure on. We've seen him do it time and time again. So I don't think he's going to be too upset with the way he's played, but I think he's just going to play his game. He's not going to change his style. He's not going to go completely mad. Remember, he doesn't have to win this game. He's not out of the competition if he draws, so there's no point playing a totally high risk game. He's going to exert pressure if remember, he came in here, he said, my objective is not to lose. He doesn't want to lose a game. What he does, what he specializes in, is taking advantage of those small opportunities that he gets presented to him when even grandmasters of Ray Robson's strength, they present him, and that's when he pounces. He's like one of these players. He's not an all-out guy. He will take advantage and he will punish you for the small errors. And with white, that's what he's a specialist in. So I think that's what we're going to see. But Ray, he's coming good right at the right moment. He played really well in the past couple of games, and I think he's going to pose some problems to Wesley.
Yes, Lawrence, I have got to agree with you. Wesley, clearly in his interviews, revealing his card, he's just going to play his solid chess, which, I want to ask you, Robert, this is very interesting about Wesley So here up on the screen. He's really diverted from the usual ilk of Filipino grandmasters. If you look at previous Filipino superstars like Mac Paragua, very famous here in the United States, very aggressive chess, lots of tactics, lots of sharp openings. But Wesley, he's really different. He's playing solid chess. It's almost as if he didn't even come from the Philippines. He's playing completely different kind of openings, solid chess. Where did he get this heritage?
Well, I think he just geared his openings more towards elite level chess at the moment. He has to be very cautious when you play the likes of Hikaru Nakamura, Magnus Carlsen, Fabiano Caruana, Levana Aron. You have all these superstars in the chess world, and if you're not careful, you can get crushed by them. So Wesley So has changed the way he plays chess in recent years. He's only playing elite competition, with the exception of some of the players in the early rounds of this tournament. He's only playing very high-level grandmasters, and that means, as he said, he doesn't like to lose. He needs to play more solid chess, more stable moves, and then he finds himself winning a lot of those games.
Yes, and here we see his opponent coming to face him, Ray Robson, his former roommate and college buddy. I guess both of them are pretty excited to reach the finals together. As if you've just joined us, well, we want to remind you that these guys, they train together. They basically know each other so very well. It will be interesting to see what opening choices they choose for this thriller of a match, because as we spoke about before, because they know each other so well, because they analyze so many positions and openings together, there's always a question of, well, what are we going to use, now? Because we don't want to use a line that we both know so well. We don't want to reveal any opening secrets. We just want to get a position that we can play, it's playable, we can use instinct, and so on. Now, Lawrence, I know you kind of disagree with me on that one, because for you, it's all about the 100K.
Well, I think the point I'm trying to make is that, what they are playing on the board, it's up to them whether they want to reveal something or not at the end of the day. And so far, as we saw in the last game, it didn't feel to me like that was a theoretically important game. So I don't think they're really worried about that. I really don't even think that's a concern at the moment. I think they want the prize, it's the prestige. It's not just the money, as we've mentioned a lot of time, although it is the biggest. I spoke to both of these guys yesterday, by far the biggest single prize they would have ever won, and a huge amount of money for a college student. So clearly for them that's a huge motivation, but it is the prestige of winning the tournament. And I really, I'm not really going to change my mind on that one. I don't think they care one bit about whether they show a move they looked at together or not, because it doesn't really benefit either of them. It doesn't really disadvantage either of them either. So,
well, Lawrence, I agree with you that it's probably not at the forefront of their mind, but it will certainly influence their choice of what to play. And we had Wesley in here earlier. You're absolutely right. It's not just about the $100,000 prize that they're playing for. It's also about the prestige, especially for this young man here on the screen. He has just entered the world's top 10. He wants to send a message that he is there to stay. And if he can wipe this tournament clean with some easy technical play, he's there, and he's knocking on Hikaru Nakamura's door saying, hey, I'm going to come play for the United States soon. Move out of the way. I want the #1 spot. And as we saw on the live rating list just a few hours ago, Hikaru Nakamura is number 9. Wesley So is number 10. I think that Wesley sees this much more, not just about the money, but about the prestige of winning the Millionaire Chess Open.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Ariane. It is definitely about prestige, but at the end of the day, I think Lawrence is right about the $100,000. And I think also when it comes to these former roommates, that they can play whatever they want. I think the variation will be the futon and the television are mine because we didn't decide last year which of us roommates gets them. And the winner should take all. Not just the $100,000 prize fund, but all the accessories that they had in their room. But I think that they shouldn't worry about their being friends. You have to ignore that. It's very difficult, I know from experience. But in this moment, it doesn't matter if it's your best friend, if it's your wife, it's your, your mother. You have to play chess and try to win that prize.
Well, if it was my mother, I'd definitely lose. I don't want to risk that one.
Me too. But, the point still stands.
I think the big problem is when you play your wife, actually, there, Robert. There's all sorts of sanctions, similar to what the US is doing with Russia at the moment, that you don't want to, economic right the way through. I'm not even allowed to say what else, but, you beat your wife. It's all nice to start off with, and then suddenly you get home, forget it. End of. I think the wife is the one where I'd seriously consider just. It's not worth the 10 years.
Well, as we see here, Laws, Wesley So taking off his jacket, just like he did in the last round. Last round we had a bit of a debate. Why isn't Ray Robson taking off his jacket? Well, I think you both have a different style. You sit there. Some players, as I'm sure, Robert, you know about this, they have little superstitions, They play with their favorite pen, or if, they're not playing exactly the way that they want to play, they change their underwear, or they change whatever they're wearing.
I hope they change their underwear anyway.
Well, we know a few chess players who certainly don't, because they keep winning in this jumper or this piece of clothing, and then they go to the board every day with it.
Aaron, I don't know who you're hanging out with, but all the chess players I know change their underwear. And there's many reasons why he may not take off his blazers. Maybe he's cold, maybe his sweaty armpits, and he doesn't want the world to see that on the broadcast. And maybe he just doesn't want to be like his opponent, Wesley So. Wesley takes off his jacket, he keeps it on. He looks classy, he looks fresh, he looks ready to play chess. Ariane, I don't know what your fascination is with his coat. I think it looks very lovely.
Well, no, I'm just wanting to point out the facts that a lot of chess players do have, and I know you both know exactly what I'm talking about. Superstition. Lots of chess players are very superstitious. They play with the same pen, or they change their pen. They refuse to take off their jacket, or, Ivan Chuk, for example, wears the same T-shirt or the same jumper. There's, there is that little bit of superstitiousness about chess players.
It's interesting, though, because as chess players, as we all are, we're creatures of logic, right? The whole game is based on logic. So
that's right.
It doesn't make any sense at all that a chess player be superstitious. It'd be better if you were a poker player and superstitious. There's luck involved. There's all kinds of elements. Chess player, why did you win? Oh yeah, it was because my pen has blue ink in it, and I bought it from that newsagent over there. No, you won the game. you thought with your brain and you made the right moves. It's quite funny, but you are right. Anyway, superstition or not, they are off. 100K is on the line. Are we going to see a decisive result now? Can't wait to see. And we've got a great
Wow. This is going to be exciting. Robert, take us through this opening.
Well, it looks like it is a Grunfeld by Black, and I think it's a good choice by Robson. He doesn't want to get into anything too complex. These are generally positional battles. One side gains the initiative. But White typically moves the knight to c3. Instead, he moves pawn to g3. So Wesley's also mixing it up a little bit.
Yeah, this move, we won't go too deep into this, but this is becoming a bit more popular at the moment because with this knight c3 move, this d5 in the center, this thrust, Robert, I think we'll get that in the screen. This Grunfeld defense, you've probably heard it on the broadcast, it's become the bane of top players' chess for White. They are hating this defense at the moment. It's holding up. So instead, he tried something else, but believe it or not, we get into it anyway. This is the Fianchetto variation, and look at this. This is exactly what the crowd wants. Symmetrical positions, not much going on. Am I right, Robert?
Well,
look at that. It's totally symmetrical.
It is a completely symmetrical position, but there is a lot at stake here. White generally, because you have an extra tempo, seizes a slight advantage in these structures. And Wesley So, we've said this time and time again, he plays for that small but stable advantage over playing wild chess. And here we see he's just doing his best to look at the time. He's already got a small time advantage. Ray Robson inevitably will think a lot, get down on the clock, and look, Wesley looks pretty confident.
Look, guys, in every single game that we've seen Wesley So play in the tie breaks with the 25 minutes, 15 minutes, and so on, he has been moving the opening extremely quickly, often under 5 seconds. The guy knows what he's doing in the opening, and of course, this is a staple for the top players, this kind of position. Lawrence, as you pointed out, yes, it might not be a crowd pleaser, but this is definitely a position that Wesley is familiar with and might suit his tournament situation at the moment. Robert, take us through some of the main lines here.
Well, it just looks like Black has put a knight on e4. So if we get the live update in a second, it looks like White's queen went out to a4 just now after a move like knight to e4, which I don't even know about this move, knight e4. Usually it's White who gets the knight on e5 first. But queen a4 check, it looks like Wesley So is well prepared. He moved very quickly. We see he's spent fewer than 10 seconds on the clock. So a good move, threatening immediate check, and the idea is that their bishop b7, perhaps queen to b3, putting pressure on both the b7 and d5 pawns. So far, so good for Wesley So.
This has actually all been played very recently, ladies and gentlemen. I remember commentating on some games in this line, and basically I like the way Ray's playing. What he's going to try and do is get castled very quickly, get his king safe, and in this position, I think he's just going to block the check with the knight. I think that's the best move. It's a natural move. Bring your pieces out, bring them towards the center. Knight over to c6. I'll put it on my board. And if White tries to win a pawn with knight e5, I think what you can do is you can just take this knight off, a quick exchange, and castle, and sacrifice this pawn. Because if everything is swapped off, yes, White wins a pawn, but suddenly after a move like bishop e6 or queen a5, actually, Black's really, really quick at getting the initiative, and it can peter out. But then again, of course, Wesley, having played queen there, checks so quickly, maybe he's got a little something up his sleeve. I'm quite interested to see what he's going to do here.
Well, we see the statistics just being generated up on the screen there. 55% chance of White winning, 45% for Black. Now, it's way too early for that, and I think at this stage of the game, early in the opening, it is way too early for any computer assistance of our analysis. So, Robert, I'm going to take it to you to look at Black's options now on a human level.
Yeah, I think White is the better of this opening on a human level. First, you see the time advantage and the preparation. It's very clear that Ray Robson is not very well prepared in this line. And we see you in knight to c6 and knight to e5. As Lawrence mentioned, the immediate threat on c6, but Lawrence has this covered, so I think that Ray Robson also has probably looked at it before. Another option after castling, well, knight takes c3 first, pawn takes, and castle is, well, you have to take this, but let's look at this position a little bit deeper. Lawrence mentioned that Black is very quick in counterplay, but we do see weaknesses. The bishop on g2 is very nice, aiming at the pawn on d5. The Black is down one pawn and needs to be very, very quick otherwise suffering a bad fate. So a move like queen to a5 looks possible because it puts pressure on c3, but I'm just not sure that it's enough, and Ray Robson has a lot to prove.
Lawrence, any thoughts on your experience of commentating in this opening? What are the usual results that we get from this? I know you said earlier that it might be a bit boring for the viewers, but from your experience, what are the kind of results that we're looking at?
Well, it was only boring up to the point it was symmetrical. After all, when a symmetrical position, there's not much going on, right? But suddenly the game's starting to develop, and it could very well explode. So let's not be too pessimistic about what might happen. In general terms, though, in this opening, of course, when I commentate, I'm normally doing the elite events, and in those elite events, most often than not, the game ends in a draw. Both players are very good, they're very well prepared, and these kind of positions they've looked at already. Now, it's very clear to me, however, Ray Robson, who doesn't belong to the elite yet, he's still very young, he's got a lot of work to do to get there, he is having a think, because I think perhaps he's not quite so familiar. And if you're not that familiar with these positions with black, you can get into a bit of trouble. You need to be very precise. What Robert said before about sacrificing the pawn in order to get developed. If you sacrifice that pawn, you've got to show what the compensation is. It's the same thing in life, right? You know, you don't sell the house to then, you know, build a business that doesn't work. You've got to make it work. And in this position, it's exactly the same. Now, I fear for Ray now because it's barely move 8. And he spent already 6 minutes more than Wesley.
10 seconds for Wesley.
Right, and I don't like this at all. So what has he done? Oh, he's actually, wow. What has he done here?
He moved his bishop on d7 here, Lawrence, and the idea is now, which Wesley very quickly snapped off the board, after knight takes d7, queen takes d7, Wesley has his favorite 2 bishops. In Grandmaster games, the 2 bishops are often better than a knight and bishop. The reason why? In open space, the bishops are free to roam. Eventually, I think what Wesley So should set up is move like pawn to e3 and later pawn to c4, opening up this bishop on this diagonal. If he can do so, the bishop on g2 will be very happy, and it gives him the best shot at a future edge. But I don't think it's so simple, and I think in this given position, you went rook to b1, which I think is a very wise move. There are a lot of openings here. The b file, the bishop on g2 as mentioned, and so I think that white is the better of the chances right now.
That's right, guys, and let's have a look at the statistics, perhaps backing you up there. 77% for white, 23% for black. I think, though, that those numbers are still a bit too high at this stage of the game. Lawrence, what does the machine say?
Well, they say 77-23%, but this is a bit like when you're stuck in a traffic jam on the motorway for 2 hours trying to get to your mum's for Christmas dinner. You know, you're hot, you're sweaty, you feel pretty awkward and uncomfortable. And as black, it's the same spot, because here, white is the one who has got all the breaks in the position. He's very lucky. I like your idea, Robert, of just putting that pawn on e3 with c4. But look at this b file he's got to work with. I think that's a real important feature. That rook, look at him eyeing up that little pawn on b7. Black never, ever, ever wants to move that pawn, because as soon as you do, let's say it were to go to b6 in this position, very quick example, that would run into all kinds of havoc along this diagonal, this h1 to a8 diagonal. You only need one pawn break to go through there, and the position collapses. So this is a really unpleasant position for black, in my opinion. Long-term advantages lie with white. He's got the 2 bishops. He's got the open file. I can't see where black's play is coming from at all. So Ray, no wonder, look at his clock. This is just fascinating. Wesley So has only used 15 seconds, and Ray has used nearly 10 minutes. I think that speaks volumes about who's in control at the moment.
That's right. It looks like Wesley is much better prepared in this line. Now, talk us through the, you know, at this point in time, Robert, Wesley knows that he has $100,000 up for grabs if he wins this game. Where does he draw the line? You know, does he go straight for the win, for the victory, or is he going to be quite satisfied with a blitz match or a 50-minute match? Because when we had him in earlier, he was saying, you know, as Lawrence reiterated before, I just don't want to lose. I don't want to lose. I'm not, you know, almost like he's not even thinking of winning. He just wants to you know, play solidly, and he doesn't mind going into. In fact, I think he said that, didn't he? He said, "I was just happy to go into a blitz. At least I would make it to the blitz." So it seems that Wesley is pretty confident in his play in the quick games. What do you think, Robert?
Well, I think he's the perfect position right now. And the reason why is you're absolutely right, Ariane. He stressed this. He is not taking huge risks. And in this position with the 2 bishops and the immediate threat, this is why Ray Robson is thinking a lot. The move castle looks very, very natural. You get your king safe, you connect your rooks. But there's immediate problem. The pawn on b7 and the pawn on d5. And it's what you call a double attack. Queen to b5 here threatens both pawns, and it's really not possible to protect both. You see the queen and the rook lined up on this b7 pawn, and the bishop and the queen aim at this d5 pawn. And you can only protect one or the other, which means that if this happens, Ray Robson's in big trouble, hence why he's thinking so much right now.
Lawrence, how do you think Black should continue his development here? Because he needs to develop, obviously, but as Robbie pointed out, it's going to be quite difficult.
Yeah, it's just very unpleasant, the position. I mentioned it before. It's a long-term play. You haven't got any. I think probably the only move is to play rook d8, actually. And even that in itself is not a move you want to play. In an ideal world, if we could put that rook back on a8 for a second, and let's say black castled and then white made the mistake of castling, then in this position, suddenly the rooks can come to their natural squares. The f rook comes to the d8 square, and the a rook comes to the c8 square. But when you put, let's go back to the current position, when you put that rook on a8 to d8, that deprives that poor little rook on h8 of getting into the game in a useful way, and it means that, again, white is the one with all of the choices in the center. So if you have to play rook d8, it's a clear sign that he didn't know what he was doing in the opening. White's better. Hate black's position, fear for his time. He's now over 10 minutes down on the clock in a 25-minute game. That's nearly half of his time down on the clock. He's in big, big trouble at the moment.
Guys, do you think that Ray might have misplayed the opening a little, perhaps starting off with knight takes c3?
Well,
if we go back a few moves?
Yeah, I just think he was very unfamiliar with the position. It's not that the position was super theoretical. It's kind of an offbeat line, and it definitely benefited Wesley so. And he's just the more experienced player at a higher level. And he did this on purpose. He said, I know Ray Robson. I know what he studies. Maybe in their research together, their chess research, he's found out that, well, Ray's not as familiar with these lines. So here was a great choice. Now, what we have in the game, Black is spending a lot of time. It's kind of a critical moment, a do or die time, if you will. Pawn to e6 is another possibility, protecting d5. But if you go pawn to e6, now you might run into some trouble on the diagonal where you can't castle. Bishop to a3. You can't castle through check. The king can't go through there. It's just all these possibilities are not looking good for Robson, so he's spending a lot of time. But it looks like he's about to make a move.
Right, he better make a move as well. I mean, he's going to go down. Oh, here we go. But he's still got 13 minutes.
Wow, he made the move b6, the move Lawrence absolutely hated. Lawrence, I agree with you. That move looks very, very, very bad.
You know what I think, guys? I think Wesley knows Ray Robson so well that he has specifically chosen this line because he knows that his positional understanding of this position is just far superior, and Ray clearly using far too much time in a position where Wesley just seems to be playing very simply, very, comfortably. Lawrence?
No, absolutely. I mean, Ray Robson's position, it's like a couple of my socks in my hotel room at the moment. They stink, and this one as well does. He's had to weaken himself completely long-term playing this b6 move. All of those light squares, look at those, yum, 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 yum. That bishop on g2, it can rear its ugly head whenever it wants on those squares. It can do it on this long diagonal. After e3, it can even come back the other way via f1 and b5. There are all kinds of options for it. And you can tell, look at Ray Robson's face before. It was a disgusted look.
Move, Lawrence. I'm sorry to cut you off, but rook takes b6.
Oh, my God.
He made the move b6, and Wesley Snow promptly snaps that pawn off the board. And it looks like it's a free pawn because the pawn on a7 can't take on b6.
It is a free pawn. The computer completely agrees with Wesley Snow's move here. 91% There is a clear reason why Lawrence didn't like b6. Instinctively, it's not a good move. And Wesley here winning a free pawn?
Well, it's not quite the clearest free pawn there is because knight takes d4 looks like a good intermediate move. And after knight takes d4, you can't just take the knight back on d4 because now your queen's under attack on a4. So queen takes d7, check, king takes d7, and here, again, you can't take the knight because your rook's under attack, but simply moving your rook looks great. Maybe rook to b7 check. Now the king has to come to attack the rook, otherwise I'll take your knight next move. And if you come king to c6, for example, rook takes e7. I'm starting to gobble up all your pawns. Next is the pawn on f7. Later is the pawn on d5. It is very clear here that white is absolutely winning. And the statistics is 91%. I have 100% faith in Wesley. So look at him. He's very calm. He's looking at the board. He's not too happy, and that's a big mistake some players make is they start smiling. That means they stop being objective. They're being subjective.
And he's got double the time.
He has double the time. It should be game over.
Lawrence, over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Wesley is doing just great. I think Ray needs a miracle. But in the meantime, I'd just like to bring everybody's attention to another very important game going on between Burnett and Gulamali in the under 2,500 category. These guys here are playing for a huge amount of money. Ronald Burnett is a point up as it stands. Black Gulamali, we can see him there on screen, he needs to throw the kitchen sink at Burnett, and he's doing just that in the position. If we take a look here, you've got this amazing dynamic in the game where Black is shooting his kingside pawns up the board, saying, hey, I'm getting these babies rolling against your king, and I'm going to try and destroy you over there. Whereas White, he's kind of pushing on the queen side, trying to make some holes in the position and infiltrate round the back. He's just played this move, f4, and now Ronald, who he's a very good player, of course. They are both very good, under 2,500, international master strength. Here, Black has got a great shot. He can play the move pawn to g4. The knight would have to come back to f2. And now, the beautiful looking move, knight takes pawn check, just whipping one of the defenders off, just saying, I'm going to strip that king naked and spank his hairy bottom. And after that, after g takes f4, pawn down to e3, and I tell you what, I'd rather read Ray Robson than Burnett in this position. You've got the knights on pre, you've got the queen coming to c6. This pawn on e2 is going to be weak long term. Ugh. Take me back to Ray Robson's game, please. I'll suffer a pawn down in that one instead.
Thank you for that very entertaining segment, Lawrence.
I don't even know what to say about that. I agree with his analysis, though, that Kazım Gulamali down 1 point and having the black pieces has a great chance of winning that game. And they're both very strong players. I've played both of them many times, and it's great to see them fighting up here on board one. You see Kazım Gulamali right there, and there's Ronald Burnett. And Burnett looks like he's in trouble. Just if you look at his face, he's struggling. He's really unhappy. He's got his hand on his head, whereas Kazım is cool. He's got his hand on his cheek. He kind of looks like a statue from the Renaissance period. He's playing excellent chess in this game.
Well, you know, let's remind our viewers that these guys on the stage are also playing for big amounts of money. You know, we're looking at Ronald Burnett here with the white pieces, possibly going into a tiebreak. He'll be playing for, I think it's $40,000, is it? If we could get some of the prizes of the amateur sections up on the screen. This is huge. This is the only tournament in history, in chess history, where a player like Ron Burnett can play for such a big amount of money. These guys on stage, the amateur sections, this is what the Millionaire Chess Open is about, bringing chess to the masses. And look at that. We have quite a few of them there fighting out to the very end. Here we go. We see the amateur sections. They're playing for $40,000. You know, that is a huge amount of money for an international master. And second place gets $20,000. This is fantastic, and this is what the Millionaire Chess Open is about. Now let's go back to our main game of the day, game of the tournament. Our very own Ray Robson there and Grandmaster Wesley So from the Philippines, roommates, college buddies, but now fighting each other for that $100,000 prize. Lawrence, how do you assess his position?
Well, I assess his position like I assess my chances of being world champion in the next year. Pretty bad for, in fact, nigh on not going to happen. Ray's just lost a pawn, a clean pawn against somebody of Wesley's strength. He should be punished. Wesley can just retreat the rook back home now. Thank you very much. And yes, there's some play down this c line, as Robert will indicate with the rook. This pawn on c3 can become weak from time to time, but in general, a pawn's a pawn, and it's great. By the way, did you see the look of Ronald Burnett's face? The guy looked like he just left the gas on at home, you know? Oh no, what have I done? You know, if he wins the prize, though, at 40,000, maybe he can buy a new condo or something. I don't know how cheap these things are over in the US, but he looked worried. Wesley looked stoic. Ray, well, he's got 9 minutes to Wesley's 22. Massive
time
underdog.
difference. That's
massive underdog.
Decisive, yeah.
Yeah, it is very insane. A 13-minute time difference in a 25-minute game. And earlier I made a joke about they're battling for the futon, the television. I think Ray Robson's been asleep on the futon during this game. He's not making good moves. He blundered a pawn for no compensation. It's really bad chess by Robson right now. And it's kind of been what's happening for him in this tournament. He's gotten extremely lucky. He made it through. He's here. That's the most important thing. Even if he loses the game, he has $50,000 in the bag. But we've seen round after round, he's been struggling. And look at him right now. He looks dejected. He looks distraught. He looks absolutely miserable. He's hiding his face so Wesley can't see that, exactly how upset he is. But realistically, Wesley So is just about to win this game, and Ray Robson is absolutely miserable at the board right now.
Well, the psychological frame of mind between these two players is vastly different. Ray Robson knows he's lucky to be sitting here on Millionaire Monday, let alone the grand finals. I mean, he was lucky to make it today to the to the semifinals, and extremely lucky to make it to the finals. But Wesley So, on the other hand, he is calm, cool, collected, and he's the top seed. He wants to win. For him, failure is not an option. Failure is simply not an option for him because he's number one. He's here to win this tournament. And you can see that, he's settled at the board. He's ready to take this home. And, we've had him in the studio a few times, and it's very clear to me that other than first place, there was nothing else in his mind. Whereas Ray Robson, on the other hand, he's just counting his lucky stars that he's even here at the final. And, well, you got to be happy walking away with $50,000 if you're Ray Robson.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but if you look at him right now, the $50,000 is not a consolation. Sure, after the game, if he does go on to lose this game, which he should, that will be, of course, a great time to rejoice. But in chess, it's such a horrible feeling to lose, especially to blunder. And if you look at him, that is just his heart on his sleeve. He is just really, really unhappy right now, and it's tough. It is really tough when you're just on the cusp of victory and you go down in flames. And it looks like a couple more moves happen. This move, rook to d1, was very sneaky. And let's say white chose a different option, like bishop to e3. The real issue now is knight takes d4. So it's very good for Wesley So they do not fall for the simple traps. In fact, if this had happened, now all of a sudden the tables would have been turned and Ray Robson would have been winning the game. The idea is that the queen is en prise, and after queen takes queen, well, we don't take the queen right back on d7. We throw a knight takes e2 with check, an intermediate move, king h1, rook takes d7, and now we see that black is up at least one pawn and winning the game. But of course, Wesley So is better than that. He made this move rook to d1. Now if knight takes d4 with the same idea, well, it just doesn't quite work. You can go queen takes d7, knight takes e2 check, same idea, but king f1. And after rook takes d7, king takes e2, we see that white is up a minor piece and has the winning position. So Wesley So playing smart. He's taking a little bit of time. He's up so much time on the clock. Why not?
Well, and as they say, Robert, they say a pawn is enough to win the game. Is it, Lawrence?
Well, it is a lot of the time, because when you've got a position like this where essentially black is bereft of clear counterplay, you've just got more material. The whole concept of material is about what is going on the board. So if you've got more men, if you've got more of your army and your opponent's doing nothing, this isn't the Maccabees back when they, and the 300 army. This isn't a film. The 300 don't defeat the 10,000 in chess when there's nothing else going on. It's a clear advantage, and when you're as technically gifted as Wesley So, you should in these kinds of positions convert it. It's the ones that are a bit more tricky, lots more other things going on, that you don't. But this one, it's as clear as a Las Vegas skyline.
Well, Robert, we see that Wesley has made the move rook b5, attacking black's central pawn on d5, forcing the move e6, bishop g5. What is Wesley's plan?
Well, Wesley's just developing his pieces naturally. Next, his idea is go rook d1 to b1, take control of that open b file, and from there, if he can plant his rook on b7, well, the game is pretty much done from there. But look, you got to give Ray Robson credit. He's not going to go down without a fight. He will try his best. But you're down a pawn against the number 10 player in the world. You're not only down a pawn, you have a worse position. There's
down on time.
Down on time. There's no active counterplay. Not looking good for lucky Sugar Ray. Or in this case, unlucky Sugar Ray.
Well, who knows? He might have a few more lives there. Let's have a look at some other options for black. I mean, how can he try and fight this position? Or is it just a slow torture?
It's a pretty quick torture, actually, because white is just threatening black with every move, whereas black is very passive and trying to just parry off the white threats. Here, if you go f6, for example, you further weaken the light squares around your king. So f6 doesn't look particularly good. But if not f6, then what? You have to move your rook somewhere. Rook to d7 doesn't help matter as much. There's two options. One is bishop to f4, just simply retreating your bishop and attacking the queen. But more likely rook to b1. And again, the double rooks in the b file look very good for white, and it gives him a great advantage.
You know, I don't see how black can start any counterplay here, and even salvaging a draw might prove to be extremely difficult, especially with 6 minutes on the clock versus Wesley's nearly 20 minutes there. Computer statistics agreeing with you completely, Robert. 95% chance for Wesley to win. You can see even the way that Ray is moving his pieces now. He is totally dejected. He's just kind of shuffling them around, you know, physically, the way he picked up that last move, the piece.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. His wrist looks limp as he's moving the piece. He's clear. Look at him. He's very unhappy. And he made two people feel exactly this way. So it's hard to feel sorry for him. But at the same time, you know, when you see someone looking like this, it really tugs at your heartstrings. He's clearly very upset. It's tough to play and lose to one of your best friends. And look, he did a big gulp. You know, I would not be surprised if he's on the verge of tears on the inside right now. Lawrence, over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to keep an eye on that one. But in other news, in the game between Burnett and Goulamali, we saw it a little earlier. This is the under 2,500 section. Goulamali needs to win with black to even things up and take it to the next tiebreak. Look at his position. It's going so well for him. He's got this knight on e4. It's like the Kraken, the beast from the seas, just sitting there waiting to pounce and destroy the white army. He's got this rook on e8 bearing down, and look who's sitting opposite, this king on e1. You don't want your king there. It's out in the open. This is actually completely busted for white. The big question is Goulamali good enough to take home the money? I tried to make that work. I know rappers do that nowadays. The words don't really rhyme, but they seem to make it work, so I'll try anyway.
Well, it doesn't work with your accent, Loz.
Yeah, that's why I put on mani, Goulamali, mani. Yeah, I'll improve that one. Don't worry about that. In any case, back to serious nature. This is 40 G's on the line. This is a lot of money to these guys. And
hang on, let's just recap. So if Goulamali wins this, they're into the tie breaks.
Correct.
Okay.
So that's the only result.
All right, and let's remind the viewers that the tie breaks basically mean that the players will play another 2 games, but on a shorter time control, so 15 minutes. And if it's another tie, they go to the second tie breaks, which is a 5-minute games where really anything can happen. Ronald Burnett, they're looking pretty disappointed. He has the white pieces, and he certainly didn't play very well.
Well, he's not out. The game's not over, and he's not out the competition. That's always a nice spot to be in. That just goes to show how important it is to win the first of these games, because you know whatever happens next, you've still got a shot. So Ronald Burnett, I really do believe actually he's probably left. He's probably left the oven on, and he's got a pizza in there. He looks more, doesn't he? He looks really troubled. Well, maybe he forgot to phone the wife. You know?
Well, he's in trouble, Lawrence, and that's really why he looks so distraught. When you win the first game with black, we've been talking about this a lot. You win with black, now with white you have to play solid chess, attempt to be stable, make your opponent prove that they can beat you. He did anything but that. He became adventurous. He allowed Gulamali to just attack his king. And we see that his monarch is sitting on e1, just directly in the line of the black rook. So Kazım Gulamali, who I've known for quite a long time, he's a very aggressive attacking player. He's extremely good at quick time controls. And he's one of the best bug house players in the world, a different variant of the game of chess.
Yes, definitely bug house players would have an advantage in this kind of position, wouldn't they, Lawrence, with all those tricky moves? I know you love a bit of bug house yourself.
Yeah, I haven't played in about 10 years, but I still love it. You're right. You know, apart from that, no, basically this position favors guys who are aggressive players, and by the looks of things, Gulamali feels very much at home here. I think he's got just a tremendous chance. Well, he's only got one result, hasn't he? He's got to win. It's all in or nothing. So we'll keep an eye on that, but Gulamali in great shape.
Let's go back to the main game of the grand final. Ray Robson struggling here against Filipino Grandmaster Wesley So. Robert, has anything changed?
Well, not much has really happened, Ariane. It looks like Ray Robson's struggling to find his moves. He looks so upset. And, you know, a couple moves have been made, but all of the moves just favor White. White, as we've known for a while now, White has been up a pawn. The rooks are now officially doubled on the b file, as I've been suggesting for quite a while now. And right now the threat is rook to b7. The a7 pawn will fall. Two bishops advantage, nonetheless. Everything is going well for Wesley So, including the time on the clock.
And the statistics seem to be behind him right there. Wow, Ray Robson sitting at under 4 minutes. This does not look good for the young American. But, you know, well, there he is, shaking his head. He doesn't know what to do. Lawrence, what would you do with black?
Well, the first thing I'd do is I'd order a scotch ASAP, down that guy, and then pray to whichever god is around to listen to me, because you know, maybe he needs more than one, I don't know. Maybe, you know, try the old Egyptian guys, because the kind of miracle he needs to win this, not only is his position is just gone. Let's put it like that. It's completely lost at this level. But not only that, he's got about 3 minutes left. So he needs a scotch, a miracle, and a bit more time on his side. Even $100,000 doesn't buy you that.
Well, you know, I got to disagree with you guys. I don't think that Ray Robson is too disappointed here. I think, in my opinion, he went into this round, I don't want to say expecting to lose, but all right with the loss. You know, the guy is happy to be here in the grand final. He's going to make 50K. He's never done that in his life. This is probably one of the best performances of his career.
Well, it definitely is one of the better performances of his career, but you have to keep it in perspective. He admitted that he was happy just to be in the final and that it was kind of a bittersweet finale because he was facing his good friend and he knew that his chances weren't as great as if he was facing perhaps one of the other competitors. But Ray Robson, while being just happy to be here, when you're in this moment, now all the past is behind you, you know, you're going to have to forget about it, that this is what was left, and he just failed on this stage.
That's right, and you always kind of want more when you're there. Why not? And let's not forget that Ray Robson is the comeback kid. He's been in this situation 3 times already in this tournament. We're, you know, telling the viewers that he's completely lost, and then just a few minutes after, he's up there winning or drawing, surviving. He's a fighter. Lawrence.
He's a fighter, and he's done more escapes than Harry Houdini this tournament. Really, he's been unbelievable. But he's playing a guy now who really doesn't allow that to happen. But I have to disagree slightly, Ariane. I think he's not just happy with the 50,000. Remember, you know, this is a rapid claim. He's an ambitious lad. You know, all of these guys are ambitious. Just because when I play a 2700 Grandmaster, when I play Mickey Adams or something like that, one of the world's elite, I don't just think I'm going to lose. I go in there thinking, hell, you know what? These guys aren't invincible. I've got a chance on my day to take them out. And the difference between me and an elite player, and I've had some scores against them, is much greater than Ray Robson and Wesley So. Remember, these guys are top Grandmasters. On his day, Ray can beat Wesley So without a question, without any shadow of a doubt. So I don't think that is right. I think at the moment he will be very disappointed. I think what he's really going to be disappointed with is the way he's played this game. It's been, for want of a better word, pretty appalling. Yeah, he's blundered a pawn on move 12, and he's got 2 minutes. Look at him. I mean, he's disgusted with his performance. And I think he'll come, when he comes and sees us afterwards, or we hear some words from him, he'll say, you know what, I just didn't deserve that game. I played all right in game 1. I should have pressurized more, but in this game, I've played like, you know, a tool, basically. I've played like a wooden tool. I've done nothing, useless.
Well, that's right. He's got under 2 minutes here. And I'd like to point out, you know, Lawrence, that you are right. These players don't get to this level with a bit of fearlessness. You know, they have to be fearless. They have to believe that anything can happen in terms of, you know, when they're young juniors, they're sitting at 2,300, 2,400. They're playing a grandmaster. They believe, they go to the board, they go, yeah, I can win today because anything can happen. And without that attitude, you don't get this good, do you?
No, it's absolutely right. You have to have fearlessness, and Ray Robson coming to the match absolutely knew he was the underdog, but didn't expect to go down like this. He played a really bad game, and that's been a trend for him in this tournament, and it just shows how good of a player he is. When we say he's playing badly and he's still winning the second place prize in the tournament, it just means how good his good chess can be. So he's still fighting. He's a minute and 19 seconds left, down 15 minutes on the clock, which is pretty insane in such a quick time control. But you know, I just want to reiterate that point. Ray Robson, excellent chess player. The fact that he's been playing so horribly means that, you know, we're judging him, but we're saying that he can just play so much better, and he will in the future.
Well, if you speak of the deserved winner, I think we can all agree here, Lawrence, that Wesley So certainly does deserve to win this tournament, not only this game.
Well, if he converts this advantage, and look at the speed he's playing. I love his strategy here. He's not taking a big think. He knows his opponent's only got 1 minute 20. That means that if he plays moves quickly, his opponent's going to, look at it, 13, 12. He's getting under a minute. His position is hopeless. Really, the miracle wouldn't be enough. You know, walking on water, resurrections, all of these things we all know about, that's nothing compared to the task that Ray Robson has in front of him. It's so gone that, you know, 99%, let's put some decimal points in there. I'd put 0.999. He's going down. And look at the misery on his face. He knows, he can say with a clear conscience, I didn't deserve this. But you're right, Ariane. Wesley So, he's not been in trouble this tournament. He's taken his chances. There's been the odd moment where he's shown that he is human. He's, you know, made some inaccuracies in these playoffs. But for me, the worthy winner, and what a talent we have on our hands.
Well, he's never really been in any trouble in any of the games.
Yeah, there was one moment in the last game, this Queen D6 move. I looked at it a bit more. It's actually really dangerous. And if the last game had actually, if he had lost the last game, who knows what would have happened in that playoff. But he's not been in, let's be honest, he's not been completely busted. There've just been the odd minor hiccup. That's why he's the deserved winner. It's because he's played so well. And look at Ray here. I mean, he's look at his body language. Look at that. I mean, that's just a picture of disgust. Look how disgusted. Look, I think he'd rather look at a pile of his own, well, I don't know what, than look at that position, because that's what it equates to.
You crack us up.
And look at the other player, a complete picture of calm. He knows what he's doing.
I think he feels a little bad, Ariane. Like, if you look at his face here, you know, he knows he's completely winning, but it's also his good friend. You think he's feeling a little unhappy?
No, he's ruthless. He's a ruthless killer here. I don't think he cares what his friend's going through. He's going to take this point right home, take home that 100 Gs. This is his tournament. This is his game.
So let me get this straight. You don't think he cares about his friend's feelings here, but you think he cares about using lines that he prepared with?
That's different, because you know that is an objective thing. You know, you're going into a game and you know that if you choose a certain line, a certain position that you perhaps have analyzed, it's not unethical, but it's dirty, because it's like, well, I know that I analyzed this position with you. We both know the outcome of this, the evaluation of this position after certain variations. And if you choose to do that, you have to see this guy tournament after tournament, because you are both very strong grandmasters. You'll be invited to the same tournaments. You don't want to do that. And and the reason I'm so strong in this point is because I know this from...
the game is over.
Oh, here we go. So we have a champion, do we?
Wesley So is the Millionaire
Look
Chess
at him
Open
smiling
champion.
there.
Look at that.
Oh, bro, look at Ray. Ray is
Ray's
really
disgusted.
disheartened. He is disheartened. Look at Wesley So. That's the biggest smile we've seen on his face. He's been so serious throughout this event. he is just, you couldn't even be any happier than he is right now.
And there we go, a nice little friendly handshake between the two friends there. Wesley So, Philippine-born Grandmaster, number 10 in the world, and Millionaire Chess Open champion. We have a champion, guys.
Yeah, in the name of Wesley So, deserved winner, big personality, big player, such a big hope for US chess as well now. He's going to be playing, I believe, for the team in the coming years. Everybody congratulating him. And what can we say about this young lad? He's got the maturity of a veteran. He's got the skill of a youngster. He's got just about everything you need to be an elite player and for a long time. So there's absolutely no question that he's a deserved winner. For me, really, really impressive. And, well, hopefully we're going to hear more from him very shortly.
That's right, Lawrence. Maybe we can have a look at the screen now, and Wesley extremely satisfied. He looks like he's on cloud nine right now, and I believe that we have a guest here. But before we cut to our special guest, Lawrence, any words about this, well, climax?
Well, you know, he's joining us in the studio now. I don't think he'll mind me saying that was, unfortunately for him, probably one of his not so good games. It was one of his worst performances, and that Wesley's the deserved winner. Unfortunately, you give up a pawn against Wesley, you misplay the opening, you don't really deserve to win it. I think Ray should take solace in the fact that, you know, he's got a long future ahead of him. He's a great player, a bit of brushing up things here and there. There's absolutely no reason why he can't make it to the top. And everybody else giving Wesley a hug, congratulations, because he deserves it. But kudos to Ray for sticking in there, for being a fighter. He's been lost more times than Man United this season, and he's still stuck in it. So congratulations to him.
Well, thank you, Lawrence. And here we are with the man, Grandmaster Ray Robson. Now, I know you must be disappointed. You just lost, but you did come second. Let us know how you're feeling.
Yeah, well, not feeling too good because of the last game, but overall, obviously, I had a great tournament. But yeah, it was pretty disappointing just to basically be lost right out of the opening.
Right, Robert, have you got any comments for Ray, chess-wise, in terms of that opening choice and how it was handled?
Yeah, Ray, if we just go back to the opening for a second, it looked like you weren't entirely sure what was going on here. It looks like he was a little bit more prepared in this line. Did you feel that was the case of the board when he came up with his Queen A4 check idea?
Yeah, well, I didn't really know Queen A4 check, and I'm not sure how often it's been played or if it's been played. I assume it has been. But yeah, after knight c6, knight e5, it seemed like he's slightly better. And then I'm having some problems defending the b7, d5 pawn, so I thought I'd just play b6, but I completely overlooked the simple rook takes b6.
Right. So that was kind of the turning point of the game where everything went downhill. But, you know, you have to remember, Ray, I mean, we want to congratulate you. I know it's tough to go down in defeat, but you still do have $50,000 coming your way. So I feel like you could smile at least for that.
Yeah. Again, obviously, overall, I'm very happy. I mean, getting second place in this tournament is a fantastic achievement for me. But yeah, I guess it's just coming off the spur of the moment, losing. It's hard to think about that.
Well, if you don't start smiling, I could take your prize fund. I'll be happy to do that. So I think you should, you know, it's okay, Ray, and we all have tough games, but you played well in other games. I know sometimes we talk about this a lot. Like, did you feel that you were missing a lot of things throughout the tournament? That at some points you got bad positions and really had an uphill task, and you know really had to fight hard your games against Yang Yi, your game against Birchies in the last round. I mean, how do you feel about your performance overall?
I think overall I played pretty well. It's just at some point I did make some, usually like one mistake per game in the games I was struggling, and then after that, that's usually when sometimes I had a lost position and I had to kind of try to fight back. But overall, I thought I played pretty well, and I was happy.
Well, Ray, you know, it was a pleasure to watch you. We had so much fun, especially, you know, you're such a comeback kid. You're losing and then you're winning the next minute. It was a pleasure, and I just want to say cheer up. because you came second. You're walking away with $50,000. And we want to thank you for playing, for being such a great guest here. Congratulations.
Thanks.
This is Grandmaster Ray Robson. Over to you, Lawrence.
Yeah, I think Ray should be very proud in general of what he's done. It's a great performance, let's face it. Second in such a strong tournament like this is still a huge achievement. And he's got just a lot of things to look forward to, this young man. He said he made one mistake per game. As soon as you start eradicating that mistake, that's when the likes of Ray Robson and various others who are coming through the ranks are going to start winning tournaments of this stature. So still a very young man, not even allowed to gamble here, so he can't waste the 50,000 like probably I would tonight if I won it, which is great news for him. Just needs more experience, and I'm absolutely certain that he's going to be up there in the future. So no worries about Ray whatsoever. It's been a pleasure. After all, he's provided a lot of the entertainment, let's face it. What about that Burgess game? If we all remember that, putting David in tears. I don't want to sound ruthless or anything, but look at David Burgess. This is what Ray Robson did to this guy. Absolutely inconsolable. That was a great moment, and look what he did earlier as well to get through. So he's been great for the tournament. Now, I believe we've got the man of the moment with Ariane and with Robert.
Definitely the man of the moment. Congratulations,
Thank you so
Grandmaster
much.
Wesley.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very happy to win this event. Thank you.
You are amazing. You just turned 21 years old a few days ago. We have enjoyed watching you play, but
Thank
you know, enough what we want to ask. First of all, tell us how you're feeling right now.
I am so glad. I'm so happy to win. This is like a dream come true for me. This is the biggest event I've won so far, and probably ever. So I'm very happy. I didn't expect that I would win this event. And in fact, I had doubts to come in this event because I know that the level of the competition will be very high. But in the end, I'm so happy and glad that everything went well.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, you're number 10 now in the live world rankings. Hikaru Nakamura is number 9. Would you say you're knocking on his door for US number 1?
Well, of course, he's still by far the number 1 player, and he's the best US player now, probably second ever to Bobby Fischer, and I have a lot of respect for him. And his rating used to be a bit higher, like much higher, and now he's just on a bit of a slightly downside. So I'm sure he will manage to get his way back and get his things back. And then I wish him all the best on his tournament right now in the Battle
Right.
Grand
Well,
Prix.
you've just won the Millionaire Chess Open. I think you have cemented your place in the world's elite at this point. And you were saying just before the finals that this was all about the prestige for you. You wanted to win this tournament because you saw it as the most defining point in your career up to this point, and prestigious.
Yeah, this is definitely the biggest open tournament ever, and I'm so glad to be a part of it, to be a part of the first Millionaire Chess. I would like to thank the sponsor, Emily. Thank you for hosting this event. It's such a wonderful idea by you and Maurice Ashley to host this event, and I'm, as I said, very glad to be part of it, and I couldn't have expected that I would have won everything.
Right, Wesley, you know, you're thanking the brains behind this tournament, the Millionaire Chess Open, entrepreneur and Wonder Woman, Amy Lee. She had a question to give you, actually.
Yeah, I'd be happy to answer any question.
We have one question for you from Amy Lee. Her question was, why did you take so long to sign up? I mean, you waited and waited and waited.
Yeah.
Was this your risk management strategy? You wanted to see who would sign up first? How many strong players would you have to fence off against? What was this?
Well, I have quite a bit of reasons for it. I think I have 3 or 4 reasons. So first of all, the first day was my birthday.
Your 21st birthday.
21st birthday. I had to Vegas, but I had 2 games. And so a few years ago, I lost on my birthday, and so I promised myself I'll never play again on my birthday, but it might have changed on both games. And then second of all, I know it's going to be a very tough event, obviously with the name Millionaire Chess and just 100,000 prize fund for the first place. I know that it's going to be a really tough event, so it's going to be tough. And then finally, I think it's good to sign up late because then your opponents won't be able to prepare for you.
Well, very smart there.
Yeah.
Very smart strategy by the Filipino Grandmaster.
Well, yeah.
Wesley, I have a
Now-
question for you. Speaking of preparation, how difficult was it for you to play your former roommate and teammate at Webster University?
It's very hard. I have to admit, it's very hard. I was nervous. Obviously, I know a lot about him, but he also knows a lot about me. It's like I'm an open book. It's like he knows. As I said some hours ago, my main preparation for the event has been working and playing Blitz with him and working openings. And he knows mostly everything, all of my preparation. And so, for example, for this rapid game, I have to play something solid because if I go for something concrete, then he might know some crucial lines.
Well, that's something that we were debating here in the studio. The guys were completely against me, and I was saying, you know, Wesley, this is going to be tricky. What opening is he going to choose? Because, as you said, you can't pick one of those variations that you've analyzed with Rob, you know, for many hours because it's just uncomfortable. You don't want to do that, so you got to pick something a little, you know, receive a position that you can play.
That I can play, and I managed to surprise him with this Queen A4 check because I prepared this some time ago and I didn't tell him.
Well, you know, well,
You didn't tell him, you're sneaky.
I've got a question.
Lawrence has a question. Yeah.
I've got a question for you, Wesley. Let's forget the chess. It's all
Okay.
over.
Yeah, it's
right?
about the
Let's talk
celebration.
about the dollar bills, as you boys say over here in the US. What's the first thing you're going to buy? Is it a car? You're going to buy yourself a nice watch? Some iPhone with gold-plated exterior? I don't know. 100,000 is a lot of money, you know?
Did you say a car?
Yeah, a car.
Yeah. I've always wanted to buy a car, so do
that.
That'd be on my wish list.
Yeah, do that. If you want, you know, I could be your advisor.
Show me around.
You know. I'm quite, you know, I'm cheap.
Some
You know, ask
brands,
Morris. He said.
Well,
Is it going to be a car? Is that what you're going to buy?
it might be on my wish list, yeah. But I think this tournament is not just about the money, it's also about prestige. And I'm very happy to win this event. This will be a good motivator for me, but not only for me, but also for other chess players that they could win big events like this if they work hard. And I look forward for my next big events. And as for the things I'm buying, well, first of all, a drink. Let's start small.
You deserve it. You absolutely deserve it, Wesley.
I'm thirsty after my game.
Well, Wesley, we will definitely join you for a drink, at least to celebrate your 21st
Thank you.
birthday and to celebrate your brilliant, amazing victory here.
I'm so happy. So I would like to thank everybody who made this event possible, and also to the people who are watching this tournament. I think the games were pretty much exciting, and I hope you enjoyed it. And actually, the tournament isn't completely finished yet. There are the games playing, so more excitement. And I look forward for my next event and hopefully future events like this.
Well, thank you, Wesley. So it was such a pleasure to watch you. You are such a good ambassador for chess, and we love watching you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
The check awarding ceremony is to follow very shortly, so don't go away. Over to you, Lawrence, for some final thoughts, but congratulations, Wesley.
Well, final thoughts. What can I say? I bet these players are exhausted emotionally, mentally, physically as well. Let's not forget, despite the fact they are sitting playing chess, it is absolutely exhausting, I can tell you. Playing many hours a day, keeping a high level of concentration, so they all deserve a lot of credit. What could I've said it before, he deserved to win the tournament. Congratulations to Wesley So. Heartbreak for lots of people in the tournament. That's what we're here to play. That's why we love chess. It is a skill game, but you can still see the drama, and I've just been really proud to be part of it. I'd personally like to thank both Amy and Maurice for putting on such a great tournament, for being so inspirational, and look forward to, well, sure there's going to be another one soon, so can't wait to see it.
Thank you, International Master Lawrence Trent. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. We'll be back soon. Don't go away.
Until recently, chess was like this. Chess24 brought you this. Live interactive broadcasts from top tournaments with computer analysis and video commentary by the likes of Jan Gustafsson, Lawrence Trent and Peters Fiddler. A play zone where you can take on opponents from all around the world 24/7. Interactive beginners courses ensuring you pick up the basics fast while having fun. A tactics trainer to sharpen your chess by solving puzzles adapted to your level. Hundreds of interactive videos letting you watch and learn from star players such as Vichy Anand, Peters Fiddler, Paco Vallejo and Hu Yifan. You've given up on that outdated computer? That's why there are more reasons to use Chess24 on mobiles and tablets. Full playzone access, including pre-move. A tactics trainer so you can stay sharp wherever you are. Computer opponents you can challenge even when you're not online. Live broadcasts of top chess events. And the half? It's free. Well, that's half true. Most features are free, but limited for registered members. For a mere $13.99 per month, however, you can step up to premium membership and gain unlimited access to our video library. That and much more. Make Chess24 your playground.
Millionaire Chess here live from Las Vegas. We have a winner. It is the final day. Millionaire Monday is over and Grandmaster from the Philippines, Wesley So, has walked away with $100,000. We're going straight to him to the prize awarding ceremony with Grandmaster Maurice Ashley.
Thank you so much, Ariane. Well, this is a big moment for myself and my partner, Amy Lee. This has been a dream 12 years in the making. It's been a whole year of hard work, bringing this all together. And now we have a deserving winner, Grandmaster Wesley So of the Philippines. We'd like to thank you and honor you with a check of $100,000. You are absolutely a fabulous player, and we wish you the best in the future. How are you feeling right now after such a victory?
I'm so happy. I cannot say. I'm almost crying after. During my game, I was really nervous today. This was a heartbreaking moment. I think today was one of my most important days of my life. And I'm so glad to be a part of your dream, Maurice and Amy. So glad to be part of your for the dream that you had for 12 years. And I couldn't have imagined I would have won it all. And I'm so glad I won it all. It's like a dream come true for me. This is definitely one of the biggest days of my life.
Well, we are totally pleased to do that. It's one of our biggest days, and we wish you more luck in the future. Grandmaster Wesley So, the champion of the Millionaire Chess Open. Great moment.
Well, you can hear the applause out there in the ballroom. Everyone is so excited. We have a champion. Grandmaster Wesley So, congratulations once again from all of us here at the studio. International Master Lawrence Trent, would you like to say a few words goodbye to our viewers?
Yeah, I would like to say thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. Really hope you've had fun. After all, this is what this game is about, but clearly, for a lot of other people, it's more than that. It's life. And Wesley So, he's going to be on cloud 9 right now. Just can't wait for there to be another one. So really look forward to seeing everybody very soon.
Thank you once again, International Master Lawrence Trent from the UK. Grandmaster Robert Hess, any final words to say goodbye?
Well, it's been a great show. It's been a fantastic tournament. I think that we have a deserved winner. Wesley So is an exemplary chess player. He's a great person. He played the best chess throughout the entire event, both through the 7 rounds when we went 6 out of 7 and didn't have to go through tie breaks. And then in the semifinal, he won convincingly in the tiebreak of that event. And in the final, he beat his former roommate and teammate, Ray Robson. So I think Wesley So is the deserved winner. I would like to express my gratitude towards Maurice Ashley and Amy Lee, the co-founders, for taking chess to the next level. And it's been a great time here with you, Ariane, and with Lawrence as well.
It's been a fantastic time. We have had a wild 5 days here in Las Vegas, having so much fun commentating for you guys. We hope that you guys, the audience, enjoyed chess. Our goal here at Millionaire Chess Open is to bring chess to you, to the masses. Now, congratulations to our champion, Grandmaster Wesley So, and this is good night from us here at the Millionaire Chess Open, Las Vegas.